Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of what if Issei helped Basara to overcome his trauma part 2. Issei reflected to himself, not thinking about many things, mostly about Boba S and their hentai videos, or nostalgically remembering the first time he and his friends spied on the girls from the Kendo Club. The shape of those fine curves and their modest Boba S remained permanently etched in his heart. He was so absorbed in his thoughts that he almost forgot his companion. Issei, where are the cutlery? The brunette almost laughed at the question. He watched, amused, as Asia stared at her burger in surprise, the same way a puppy stares at a new toy. Hamburgers don't come with cutlery, they're eaten like this. He took the burger in his hands, brought it to his mouth, and opened his jaw wide to take a huge bite. Asia moves forward and tries to imitate him, opening her mouth exaggeratedly to take a bite and chew very heavily. Not like that, haha. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Issei let out a small laugh, embarrassing the nun, who chewed slowly. The brunette took another bite of his food. After finding Asia while walking, Issei took her to a restaurant. Most of the food was still new to Asia, so much so that even a simple hamburger was an alien term to the innocent girl. Issei looked at her with a mixture of joy and concern. He was eager to ask her so many questions, but he didn't have the courage. All he wanted was to gaze at that beautiful smile. He didn't want answers he knew she wouldn't like. Nah, after going to the video games, he said to himself. After eating, they went to an arcade, where they had fun playing a wide variety of games. Asia couldn't stop laughing and gasping, having fun with every game she tried. Sorry, Mr. Gamba, I have to save the princess. Issei, look how many points I have. This game is very difficult. Don't mock, Issei. As Asia sat playing a racing game, she thought about asking the question. Nah, after going to the mall. The brunette and the blonde played until they were sick of it. Then Issei took her hand and they ran to the mall. Asia was so excited that her beautiful greens shone like a pair of stars. She looked in awe at everything they were selling, from the beautiful clothes to the fine necklaces and colorful toys. Should I ask him now? He took one look at the blonde and his heart leaped. For the first time in his life, Issei didn't see a girl with or a similar thought. He only thought of that innocent, beautiful smile. He didn't have the strength to ask her. Nah, it'll be another time. Issei showed her a plush claw machine where he wanted to show off his skills with it, getting a plush on the first try with 13 practice shots according to him. The plush in question was a low-quality yellow rat, and yet Asia hugged it like it was a precious relic. Thank you so much. I'll keep it as a memento of our friendship. You're welcome. A special encounter like this is worth it. Asia ascended with her head bowed, whispering inaudibly. Yes, this meeting is special just for today. They spent the rest of the afternoon playing, laughing, and traveling. They went to every place and attraction the mall had to offer until nightfall. They went to get ice cream and Issei writhed in pain from his frozen brain and Asia healed him. She passed by a hentai manga stand and Issei had to become a master of sign language so that the seller wouldn't sell him the deluxe edition of a manga pack that he had ordered weeks ago in front of Asia. They finally walked through the same park they met in, the same one where Issei had almost died. They found the same girl who gave him the same pamphlet. I feel déjà vu. They went and sat on a bench. Thank you so much, Issei. I've never had so much fun in my life. You're welcome, it was a pleasure. I haven't had fun like this since. Would you die for me? Issei clenched his hands into tight fists as he took small breaths, feeling that small exercise take some of the weight off his chest and the pangs in his heart, pangs that only grew the more he thought about Yuma. Even though more than a week had passed since the night his girlfriend stabbed him with a spear of light, Issei still vividly remembered every moment of that day, every instant, and every word that came out of Yuma's mouth, from those strawberry-flavored lips, and her wild tongue that played with his in a heated dance. Despite everything, it was a phenomenal first time, he told himself, ignoring the empty feeling that came with remembering his first mating UAL interaction. Issei, are you okay? You've been quiet for a long time. It's nothing, just a bad experience. I really had a wonderful time with you, but I still have doubts. Doubts? Issei took a deep breath and looked Asia straight in the eyes. Asia, that night I was about to die. When you took off your dress, why did you do that? The words came out heavy, without the courage to look her in the eyes. Asia's expression turned sad. Issei was dying. I wanted to help, but Father Fried yelled at me. I begged him with all my might to let me heal you. He gave me permission, but on one condition. Issei remembers it, that horrendous and unpleasant laugh full of mockery and sadism. He wanted my body. He said he wanted to use me in front of the dead, and if I did, he'd let me heal you. Asia's voice grew fragile. Asia! Why? I couldn't bear the thought of letting you die. If by satisfying their perversion I could save a life, I had to do it. Your life was at risk. How could I be so selfish and let them die just because I didn't want to be intimidated? Asia's voice cracked as her eyes watered. There was no longer a trace of the joy or innocence she had carried with Issei, only pain. He was bad. He made me do it on you. He called me a dirty NN too. Asia couldn't hold it in any longer and began to cry. Tears fell steadily as the memory returned to haunt her, as it did every night after that one. Because that was the first, but not the last. She remembered how Freed assaulted her every night, at every opportunity, how he tore her clothes and raped her body amidst laughter and mockery. Even now, she could feel it, his soft voice, his painful touch, the repulsive taste of his member, and the taste of his manhood liquid on her tongue made her want to vomit, but she held back. He always punished her when she became disgusted, and she didn't want to stain Issei. The teenager clenched his fists in frustration, feeling an unspeakable rage bubbling in his heart. He looked at the nun with sadness and regret. Sorry, if only I'd been stronger I could have knocked him down, and you wouldn't have had to go through everything. I'm useless. Asizen, it's not your fault. Father Freed did something terrible, but I don't hate him. Asia, he raped you. What are you saying? The Lord works in mysterious ways. I know that in His infinite grace, the Lord feels my pain. Father Freed will receive judgment when it is his turn to face God's judgment. Issei felt bitter about how easily Asia forgave the man who raped her. He wanted her to scream, hit, cry, and curse from the rooftops, but the blonde just sighed sadly. Asia, how did you end up with someone like him? I was abandoned after birth. My parents left me at the gates of the convent of Santa Carlotta, in Italy. I was taken in by the Mother Superior, who gave me a first name and her last name. I grew up there, living a simple but happy life. Asia let the memories flow through her mind, remembering all those happy moments with all the children, how she always ran into the old woman's arms and how she prayed every day and every night, giving 1,000 thanks to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit for her life. She forced a smile. Could you say it was fate's call? I don't know. When I was 8 years old, a wounded dog, close to death, entered the church. He was so hurt I prayed to God with all my might, and then a miracle happened. The pair of silver rings appeared between her fingers, 2 sacred gear, twilight healing, the smile of the Holy Mother. I discovered that the Lord had blessed me with the gift of healing. I was taken away from the convent so that I could continue helping more people. Asia said that last part laced with melancholy. She would always remember the day she left the only home she'd ever known, the tears she shed for the people she'd left behind. Mother Aurora, even as she tried to remain steadfast, sent her off with a strong hug. They had me heal sick and wounded Christians who came from all over the world. They praised me and gave me the title of Holy Maiden Saint Asia, they called me. Despite everything, I never enjoyed the laurels, the praise, or the adoration they gave me. What truly pleased me was that I could use my power to help people. A faint smile appeared on Asia's lips, gentle and filled with absolute nobility. Like a delicate flower dancing on the highest mountain, the light shining brightly upon her. The only word suitable to describe her was angelic. One day, I found a wounded man outside the church. I didn't hesitate to heal him. That man. Asia paused as she shook off all her doubts. He was a demon, Issei gulped, momentarily stunned by the revelation. What he knew about devils was that they were dark and dangerous beings who preyed on human suffering. Even after seeing that Rias Gremry and her group seemed nice, Basara still warned him about how cruel they could be, going so far as to enslave other beings and forcibly turn them into devils. Asia noticed the horror in Issei's eyes and sighed heavily. The cardinals had the same expression on their faces when they found out. They branded me a heretic, called me a witch, and expelled me from the church for corrupting one of the Lord's sacred gifts and using it to cure a demon. He stroked the engravings on his rings with his thumbs as he said this. I can still remember his exact words. Can she cure demons? She's a witch, a heretic who heals demons. They should burn it. Just remembering the words and disdain she received back then, from the very people who sanctified her and showered her with praise, hurt her, and issei could see it clearly. You had nowhere else to go, and then you ended up in a group of rogue exorcists. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Yes and no. My group was made up of exorcists and exiles, but the one who led the group and the one who took me in was a fallen angel. That did surprise issei. Despite everything, I never stopped praying to God. The Lord must be testing me, trying to see if my faith is true. I know that if I can overcome this test, one day my dream will come true. Your dream? It's kind of silly. Really, I'd like to make friends, lots of friends, pick flowers together, walk through the grasslands. A sad smile formed. Laugh, cry, watch the sunset, have a pet, live happily. It's kind of complicated because, I don't have any friends. Since leaving the convent, Asia had been alone. No matter how many people surrounded her or how many sick people she cured, she never had any real company. Maybe they're right. I am a witch, a heretic, and a— No, issei interrupted her, took her by the shoulders and looked her straight in the eyes. Listen to me, Asia. None of what happened is your fault. Heal the wounded, they told you, and that's what you did. You are not a witch. You are the kindest person I know. They are real as for what they did to you, issei. Asia, you're wrong. You're not alone, you do have a friend. Me, really? Of course. You don't have to worry about pleasing a bunch of idiots who don't value you, you just have to worry about what you want with all your heart. What's more, I'll help you make all the friends you want. We'll pick flowers and run through the grasslands. His words struck a chord deep within Asia's heart, giving her a feeling she'd always clung to, one that seemed distant lately. Hope. Would you do that for me? Would you be my friend? Issei answered him with a smile. Of course. In fact, how about staying with me? What? Yes. I can't let you continue living with that. I'll have to convince my parents, but I'm sure they'll welcome you with open arms after I explain. What do you say, Asia? Asia couldn't believe it. Had she really heard him correctly? Could she finally escape her eternal nightmare to be with her only friend? She told herself she didn't want to be a nuisance, but a selfish part of her wanted to accept, to cling to that beacon of hope in her life of bitterness. Asia smiled, as genuinely and purely as ever. Oh, what do we have here? The ungrateful little thing and my boyfriend talking so happily? You're going to make me jealous, Issei. Issei shuddered as he recognized that voice. He turned to check and sure enough, it was her. Levitating several meters above him and with her elegant black wings in all their splendor, was Yuma. For the second time, Issei was pierced by the same spear of light. He spat out blood as he fell to his knees. His eyes stared, filled with horror, at his attacker. Yuma. Hello, Issei. I see you survived. Did one of the city's princesses revive you? If so, that's a shame. You don't know how sad it is to be killed twice. Rainier calmly descended from the skies, walking with a neutral expression. She didn't enjoy what she was doing, but she was completely willing. Asia ran horrified to the injured Issei. Issei, Asia Pi, don't move, let me heal you. The healing powers of Twilight Healing took effect, healing Issei faster than Maria and Basara could combined. Rainier stepped in and pulled Asia by her hair. Oh, stop doing that, you're making my job harder. As Issei grabbed Rainier by one leg, summoned his boosted gear and hit her on the ankle. Oops. That hurt. The girl landed a powerful kick to his face with her loose leg. Issei rolled a meter while spitting out one of his teeth. That distraction was enough for Asia to break free and go heal Issei. You've awakened your sacred gear, great. What's that? A critical twist. Rainier wasn't an expert on sacred nor well versed in SC types, but she vaguely knew the most common ones due to the Grigori Supreme Leader's obsession with sacred gear. Asia, Issei, boost, get out of here. Trying to play the hero? You really are good boyfriend material. It's a shame that Issei didn't let her finish speaking. Basara taught him that against a stronger enemy and against anyone in general it's best to end the battle as quickly as possible. He hit her in the face, stunning her, then another and another until she took flight. Rainier looked annoyed, Very annoyed, she summoned a pair of spears of light and threw them at him. Issei moved and dodged the first one, but the second one pierced his shoulder. Mirrored, and a third spear pierced his stomach, in the same place where he had been pierced at their rendezvous. This time it didn't pierce completely, but the pain managed to knock him backward. That hurt. Where did you get such bad manners? Did this ungrateful nun influence you? Rainier commented dryly. Asia tried to go to his aid, but the fallen angel grabbed her arm. No. Mr. Lars has rewarded me with a unique opportunity. I'll keep your sacred gear, and maybe I'll earn a promotion. Isaisen, Asia, goodbye, Aiskan. With that, Rainier threw another spear at him, which Issei blocked with his gauntlet, causing it to explode into particles. The fall took the nun and flew to her base, leaving Issei agonizing on the ground. The brunette tried to get up, but the pain overwhelmed his body. He could feel it, his weak human muscles screaming as they were torn. He dragged himself to a tree amidst the commotion. The wound on his belly, the one that had previously healed when he was replaced with dragon flesh, was no longer bleeding, but the one on his shoulder was still open. He cursed his weak human body, so fragile it would break at the slightest blow and bleed at the slightest wound. He took out his phone and called Basara's number, but only the voicemail came through. And now what? How was he supposed to help Asia? He couldn't call the police or his friends. He was alone, and wounded on a mission he couldn't overcome. If only there was someone to help him, someone who fulfilled his wish. The pamphlet. I take the summoning pamphlet out of my pocket and look at the crimson symbol with relief. With your blood and the light of the moon, your wishes will come true. That's what the pamphlet said. He touched his shoulder and dripped the blood from his open wound onto the paper as he held it up to the night sky and infused it with his magical energy. Boost, demon, whoever you are, I summon you. He threw the paper far away, and as it fell, a halo of reddish light was born that illuminated the darkness, and from the light, a figure he recognized formed. Issei hurried to speak. I want to make a pact. Help me rescue a friend, and I'll give you anything you want. I want to make a pact. Help me rescue a friend, and I'll give you anything you want. When he said that, Akino blinked, visibly confused. It wasn't unusual for a customer to summon a demon for protection or to attack some poor soul the summoner hated, but what was unusual was that their summoner was the same boy Basara Tuja had introduced them to. Even worse, being injured. I think your wounds should be treated first, Hayado-kun. Unfortunately, I don't have any healing spells. Leave it like that. Are you going to help me or not, Era? Are you going to act tough then? Akino was intrigued by the brunette's determination. Few humans could ignore a wound like his, whether due to the pain or the fragility of their bodies. Okay, explain to me what's going on. Issei sighed and gave a quick rundown of the situation. He was hanging out with a friend until his fallen angel ex-girlfriend arrived, injured him, and kidnapped Asia. Akino smiled silently as he recounted the story, but noticed that smile sharpened when he mentioned that Rainer Yuma? He was still confused. Was a fallen angel. So those crows are still up to their old tricks, you know. Normally I'd charge you to summon me, but hunting invaders is my job. If you tell me where they are, I'll help you and your girlfriend. Thanks. Issei sighed in relief, but when he called Asia his girlfriend he got nervous. Huh! She's not my girlfriend, she's a friend. His stuttering and visible blush convinced the girl, who smiled from side to side with an amused look. Is that so? She must be a very important friend to you. Issei refused to answer. Since Issei couldn't fly or move fast enough to keep up with her, Akino had picked him up and flown through the skies. He may or may not have let out a few screams, but they weren't screams of fear, they were roars of courage and valor. Or so he told the girl, but from the way she was laughing, he doubted she would have believed him. The devil found it amusing. Phew, careful! As they flew over the church, 2 spears of light were fired from below, forcing Akino to dodge as she nearly dropped a frightened Issei. The devil's eyes narrowed as her smile sharpened. Below her was a group of fallen angels with their wings spread. 2 women and a man, all of them wielding spears of light. Akino slowly descended to the ground, releasing Issei onto the ground. Well. So you decided to come out instead of hiding? Humph! Who's hiding, demon? We want to gut you. He spat out a blonde drop the size of a child. Beside him, A voluptuous woman with blue hair looked at Issei. So you're the guy Rainier couldn't kill? Ha! You look like her ex. Did she let you live out of pity? TSK that idiot. I can't believe Lord Lars chose her to take the nun's sacred gear. Issei opened his mouth, but no words came out. He didn't know exactly what to think. Anger, disappointment, sadness? His mind was a mess, but the mention of Asia reminded him why he was here. He ignored the stabbing pain in his shoulder from his still open wound and summoned his boosted gear. I'm going to Asia. TSK, you're so annoying, human. Luckily, I like angry boys. They're always the ones who yell the most fufufu. The blonde fallen one sneered in a tone that annoyed Issei. He tried to rush at them, but was stopped when Akino grabbed his shoulder. Hayadukan, leave this to me. Himajima-senpai. I'll take care of them. You go get your friend. Issei hesitated for a moment, but Akino's firm, confident expression dispelled all his doubts. Defeat us? I don't know whether to call you confident or just stupid. The man spoke with contempt that his companions shared. He looked at Issei as if he were seeing a disgusting insect. Go on. After gutting this demon, we'll have fun hunting you. Issei held back any comment and simply ran in the direction of the abandoned church. He looked back and shouted one last time, "Finish them off, Himajima-senpai." Then she disappeared into the trees. Akino looked at the three fallen angels as a sinister smile formed on her face. Lightning and lightning covered her, illuminating the night forest. The three fallen angels looked at her in dismay at her enormous display of demonic power. I wonder how long it will take me to deal with you. 20 minutes, 15, 10? Her body was covered in a blinding light. Her school clothes were replaced by those of a Japanese priestess. Akino licked her lips. 15 minutes. 5 to defeat them, 10 to have fun. In the distance, Issei heard the roar of lightning and heartrending screams. He couldn't help but worry about his senpai, but decided to focus on his mission. He had to save Asia at all costs. He ran and ran, fighting back the urge to collapse. His shoulder wound was still open, still throbbing painfully as it bled and made it difficult to move his arm. As had become his habit, he cursed his weakness, his stupidity, his inefficiency, and his weak humanity. Humans have fragile bodies, so prone to breaking from wounds that to a demon would be nothing more than a scratch. Boost! It doesn't hurt so much anymore. His boosted gear responded to his emotions and empowered his body. He knew that no matter how weak he was or how his body broke while fighting, he would win. To prove to himself that all his effort was worth it, and that he could save Asia. He finally reached the church doors and kicked them open. As he entered, he noticed how dirty and messy the place was, littered with debris from the collapsed ceiling. He wasn't alone. "Hey, you again, you came so I could beat you up again?" Fried was sitting on one of the benches, smoking a cigarette. Issei's body trembled with anger, as the urge to attack burned within him. He glared at Fried as he demanded, "Where is, you mean Asia-chan?" "Oh, she's in the basement, while boss rips off her sacred gear or something. It was a kick that they won't let me have a quickie before they kill her, but meh. I had fun with her all week, so I'm not complaining." The way she spoke so contemptuously made Issei's blood boil. He only uttered 2 words before charging forward like a man. "You're dead." Boost! Fried stood up and moved to dodge the reinforced blow that broke the bench she was sitting on. The exorcist sneered as he drew his lightsaber to stab him, but Issei deflected the slash with his boosted gear. Fried kicked him hard in the right side, but Issei didn't scream. With his hand, he firmly grabbed the leg and kneed him in the groin. "Holy! You son of a!" Issei silenced him with a firm blow from his boosted gear. He let go of Fried's leg and he fell to the ground, dropping his sword as he spat out a pair of teeth. He kicked the sword away as he watched a furious and pained Fried writhe. "Boost! This is not the time to stop." Maria had told him that when fighting hand-to-hand, his enemy would always be a mortal danger until he was dead or unconscious, and Issei wasn't planning on leaving him asleep. He leaned forward to hit him, and although Fried kicked and tried to pull out his revolver, it only took him to grab his hands and bend them until they broke. That unpleasant crunch disturbed him, but he continued hitting without stopping. He had taken that man by surprise, and if he gave him even a second to breathe, he himself would end up dead. He kept hitting him until his knuckles began to ache and his face turned into a bloody pulp, until he was finally able to unleash all his pent-up rage. He discovered, to his relief, that he wasn't happy. Killing gave him an unpleasant sensation that made him shiver, but he had to force himself to get up when he heard Asia's voice scream, "Asia!" He walked to an open door leading to the basement, and entered. He walked down a long hallway until he reached a large room where he found Asia. The blonde was on an altar, tied to a huge stone cross filled with strange, glowing symbols. Beside her was Rainier, and beneath the altar was a group of priests, chanting something issei couldn't understand. He looked at the tied-up girl and shouted, "Ay!" The priests noticed his presence and glared at him. An intruder, Matenlo! They all pulled out hilts that manifested lightsabers. Issei grunted as he stood on guard. "Everyone stop. The ritual is almost over anyway. Finish?" That didn't sound good. The symbols on the cross glowed a dull green, enveloping Asia's body in visible pain. She screamed, kicked, and shrieked as her chest bulged. A radiant bubble emerged, and Rainier grabbed her, her own body glowing in a green light while a pair of rings appeared on her hands. "Asia!" Issei ran. The priest tried to stop him, but he boosted again and jumped a few meters to the altar. "Asia, I came to save you," whereas she sounded muffled, almost dead. "I cut the ropes with my sword and held her close. Everything will be okay, just, it's useless. When a sacred gear is ripped from a user, they always die. Then give it back." Rainier's mocking laughter only angered him. She looked at him with a disconcertingly innocent smile. "Iskun, how can you talk to your girlfriend like that? Boys like you deserve to be killed. Don't take it personally." At his side, Rainier summoned a spear of light. Behind him, dozens of armed priests charged at him in a rage. In his arms, Asia lay dying. He broke out in a cold sweat as his grip on Asia tightened. He leaped forward, propelling him to the other side of the room, but fell face first onto the floor as the spear of light pierced his leg. He let out an agonized wail, the pain drowning out all his senses. Only a soft voice made him react. "Issei, a little more." With his sacred gear-clad arm, he yanked the spear of light free and stood up, limping weakly down the stairs. He could hear footsteps, a slow walk that only served to stress him out as he limped weakly with the girl in his arms. "Wait just a little longer. Soon you'll be free to play with me from now on." Asia smiled at his words. She took his hand. Issei couldn't feel any strength or warmth in her touch. "I was happy to have had a friend even if it was for such a short time." "What are you saying?" "Don't say that, there are still many places I haven't shown you. I'll take you to karaoke, the video game center, bowling too. If I were born again, would you be my friend again?" Those words broke him. He was supposed to speak to her with a smile, but he couldn't stop crying. He knew it, he'd already understood. This girl was dying. She would die. Yet he tried to deny it. "We're friends. Always. Of course. I'll introduce you to Motohama and Matsuda. They're a little perverted, but they're both good guys. They'll definitely be your friends. We'll definitely have a good time together. We'll have a lot of fun. If I had been born in this country and went to the same school as you." "Asia, please, you just..." "Issei, thank you." Asia died. She died in his arms with a smile. Issei collapsed to the ground. He cursed the four winds, he cursed God, the devil, the fallen angels. He cursed everyone who could be cursed. He cursed himself. Once again, it had been useless. He tried with all his might to fight, but in the end, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't face Rainier, he couldn't reach her on his own. He couldn't even save the girl in his arms. Rainier came sneering, but he didn't listen. His mind was lost between grief and frustration. He heard her say, "Pathetic, and that's the way the world works." He clenched his fists in frustration. Why did the world have to be so cruel? Why should good people like Asia have to suffer when she'd never done anything wrong? Boost! A green aura enveloped him. He could feel it, that familiar feeling of having reached the limit of his impulses. The force that enveloped him was intoxicating. It was just what he needed. He closed Asia's eyes as he stood. He glared at Rainier, his eyes red from crying. "Are you going to fight again?" "Ha, come on. You couldn't beat me before. And now that I have this power, you think you have a chance? His taunts were not without merit. Issei was tired, gravely injured, and running out of time to maintain his strength. He didn't stand a chance. Yuma, I would have done anything for you. I spent hours planning our date. I tried my best to make sure you had a good time. Ha, what's that about? I don't know. I've always been bad with words. Whenever I want to say something important, I just talk and say stupid things. I can tell. If it makes you feel any better, you're my favorite human. How about you stop crying and apologize? I could take you as my pet. We'll have fun fing like animals while you can be as cheesy and silly as you want. Rainer's eyes sparkled, and Issei could see something he couldn't identify in them. What do you say, Ice-kun? The syrupy tone sickened him. It was the same tone Yuma had. Issei sighed, stood on guard, and spat. F off, son. Before anyone could move, something appeared. A tornado of red energy engulfed everything around it. Walls, floors, priests. Everything was swallowed by that maelstrom of power. Asia's body was quickly drawn in, but Issei held it firmly while grabbing onto a wooden pillar. Rainer wasn't so lucky. The powerful gravitational pull pulled her back, but she used her wings to fly away. Issei didn't allow it. He managed to grab her ankle and fly beside her. Rainer yelled at him as they crashed through the fragmented walls and fell outside the church. Issei looked back and watched in horror as the crimson tornado devoured the church and destroyed everything inside due to its overwhelming energy. Mother of God, what the hell is that? In the distance, Akino witnessed the disturbing scene. She quickly contacted Rias, and her teacher told her she was already on her way with her entire peerage. For Satan's sake, what kind of being would be capable of doing something like that? After school, Maria insisted they go for a walk to improve the bond between master and servant. A blatant lie, since the succubus only wanted to wreak havoc. She spent the entire afternoon getting us into embarrassing situations for her training. Fortunately, a good punch calmed her down 9 times out of 10. I'm starting to think she's a masochist. Right now they were in the same park he showed Mio the day everything came to light, and the view was still just as beautiful. This place is beautiful, my lord. You truly have a talent for finding gems, both people and views. Maria, please stop calling me that. I'm not even part of the clan. Besides, what does it mean to find jewels on people? Isn't it obvious? You have the talent or the luck to find invaluable allies. The young lady and I are just the tip of the iceberg. Finding a Longinus wielder who is unaware of the supernatural and befriending him. It seems he was blessed by some lucky deity. Basara wanted to argue that this was exaggerated, but if you could think about it, it wasn't. Not only because of the people he met upon arriving in the city, but during his time as an exorcist, he met 2 of the most talented and promising girls of their generation, both wielding powerful holy swords capable of slaying high-class demons with a single slash. Don't ruin the atmosphere or I'll throw all your hentai mangas in the trash. The succubus screamed in terror, but was ignored by the pair of cousins. They watched the sunset intently, silently observing the spectacle before their eyes. Mio shifted her gaze to Basara, and found something strange. What's on your neck? This? It's nothing, just a burn. I forgot to heal it properly. How did you get a burn like that? It was a demon. He tried to attack the house at night. I confronted him and killed him. He looked like a mercenary of some kind. A demon attacks us in the middle of the night, and you didn't warn us. Mio sounded annoyed. It's nothing really. I already told Gremory that we have a problem with illegal devils. It wasn't even that bad. If any of the other times I had problems, I would have. Other times? You're telling me you've been fighting demons that attack us, and you haven't bothered to tell us? Miss, calm down. The master doesn't fight alone. I've been helping him fight myself on several occasions. You don't have to. You knew. You both knew, and neither of you told me. Mio felt hurt. She couldn't believe the people she trusted the most were hiding something so important from her, and it made her feel terrible. We didn't want to put you in danger. Some of them used blessed weapons, exorcist weapons. One wrong move and they could have hurt you. Her words, far from reassuring him, made Mio feel miserable. Was this all because she was weak? She hated being weak with every atom in her body, feeling powerless in the face of adversity. But above all, She hated being useless. Mio wanted to be strong enough to avenge her parents, to never be harmed again, and to protect her family. She hated feeling like a burden to Basara, who had already done so much for her. I don't want to be a burden. You're not, it's just that I'm not that strong, am I? Mio interrupted him. Then what was the point of me becoming your bishop and making the master-servant pact if I'm just going to be a damsel in distress? I want to help. I want to lighten the weight off your shoulders. Her voice broke. I want to be able to rely on my strength. Basara was speechless, not knowing what to say. Instead of using his rational mind, he listened to his heart and took Mio in a hug. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't notice you feeling that way. I'm a terrible brother, and there it goes again. It bothers me that you act like this with me, so warm, so loving, so protective. I felt like I didn't deserve any of it. I'm the oldest, younger sisters shouldn't question their older brothers. We are not brothers, we are cousins. We are family, that's all that matters. Mio reciprocated the hug, clinging desperately to it. Maria watched this scene, smiling, silent. Not wanting to interrupt her teacher's precious moment, that didn't stop her from pulling out her cell phone to take a picture of them. When she had the pair of lovebirds in her sights, her camera caught something bright, something rapidly approaching. Her eyes widened when she discovered what it was. Be careful, we're under attack. They both turned around, and Basara grabbed Mio and jumped several meters to the right. Something hit the spot where they'd been and exploded, leaving a cloud of dust and dirt. You managed to dodge, not bad. The speaker was a man dressed in an elegant suit, his face hidden by a mask. He appeared from the woods, walking casually. As the dust cleared, Basara was already wielding his sword and Mio manifested a ball of fire. Who are you? You can call me Lars, and I'm here for the demon Abaddon. Basara's expression turned hostile. Lars didn't seem intimidated at all. I recommend you don't intervene. My mission is only to take the girl. If you don't intervene, I won't have to kill you. Basara's response was that his sword burned with sacred flames. You are very irascible. Leave us alone or I'll kill you. And Lars moved with inhuman speed and appeared in front of them in an instant. He lazily watched Basara swing his sword with enough force to split a car in half, and casually stopped Brynhild from its edge with his bare palm. The astonishment on Basara's face was a picture, as, with a single blow, Basara was sent flying several meters. He maneuvered in the air and managed to land on his feet. He looked at Lars with a calm expression, but internally he felt nervous. Lars had stopped Brynhild with his bare hands, a feat not impossible, but certainly improbable. He sharpened his extrasensory senses and soon noticed that Lars's body was surrounded by some strange magic, more specifically his clothing. His attire was filled with defensive enchantments, from his suit to his gloves, so his equipment was the reason he was able to stop her attack in its tracks. In the distance, he saw Maria magically dress up in her battle suit as she stood next to Mio. The redhead shouted his name in concern, glared at her enemy, and shot a blazing inferno at Lars, but he only had to extend his hand and the fire dispersed in his palm. Lars snorted, and instantly dozens of metallic black spheres with purple circuits appeared flying around him. He pointed his finger, and all the spheres shot out. Maria charged forward, and the spheres hit her body at bullet speed, but she resisted. Several spheres moved through the air and reached Mio, flickering violet. Mio gasped in terror. This boom. Mine! Miss! Multiple explosions hit Mio and threw her several meters. Basara dispelled his sword, ran, and caught her in his arms. Are you okay? TCH something. Her clothes were torn to shreds and her body was riddled with burns that filled her with a burning pain she chose to ignore. Bum! The spheres attacking Maria exploded, but the succubus moved swiftly and escaped at just the right moment. Her leap catapulted her towards Lars, where she attacked with a downward kick. She roared with fury as she infused her strike with all her demonic power. Asmodeus Worth! Lars grabbed her ankle in the air and spun around once, twice, 5 times, 10 times more. Let me go, idiot! I'm getting dizzy, if you insist. Bwah-ya-wah-ya-wah. The masked man threw it with all his might, sending it flying dozens of meters, crashing into the forest and destroying several trees. He looked at Mio and Basara smugly. That's all? I didn't think you'd be so strong. Does that mean you're giving up? Basara inhaled a breath, staring coldly at his enemy as he gathered the power that made his blood boil with excitement. The air around him began to change as his aura was released. Go to hell, and there I would send it. Lars staggered abruptly before falling to his knees as an invisible force crushed him from all directions. He sweated profusely and felt like his bones were about to break, his muscles to tear, and his organs to explode. He instantly recognized the unmistakable demonic power and the skill used. Abaddon, you are also an Abaddon, so your suit doesn't protect you from environmental effects. That's good to know. Basara had increased the gravity around Lars by 100 times, a crude and effective use of his bloodline that even a child could pull off. He didn't stop to boast and rushed over to decapitate him before he could pull off any tricks. Lars saw this and, to the brunette's surprise, unfurled a pair of metal wings that released a purple glow. Son, he was gone. Where did he go? Let me go! She turned to see with horror that Lars had grabbed Mio by the neck and had her tied up with chains the same texture as her wings. My, you surprised me with that trick. I was thinking of just letting you go, but you're more dangerous than I thought. Lars raised his aura, completely overshadowing Basara. It's best to kill you before you become a nuisance. The violet and emerald auras collided, causing the ground beneath their feet to tremble. Both opponents glared at each other with killing intent. Still, Basara used all his willpower to prevent fear from seeping into his being. That aura, it's definitely a supreme class. Basara knew his opponent was completely on top of him. He knew the difference between a high class and an ultimate class was abysmal, and while he could close the gap with his talent, and above all, his gravity magic, his instincts told him that against Lars, this wouldn't be enough. Tal vs SIUSO banishing shift. It made him sick to his stomach to use such an aberrant technique. It was thanks to that power that he lost everything. His home, his friends, everything. Despite this disgust, he knows that the power of banishing shift is enormous, and if it would protect his family, he wouldn't hesitate to use it. He sighed and looked at Lars calmly. I'm wondering the same. Lars summoned more spheres, and Basara aimed Brynhild at him. They both prepared to devastate the park until only one of them survived. Arg! Until a scream interrupted them. Mio was writhing furiously in her chains, exuding a demonic aura so powerful it made the surroundings tremble. It was her gravity magic unleashed without any kind of control, increasing gravity to absurd levels. But what was truly extraordinary was that the gravitational pressure revolved around her. An orbit. Mio is creating an orbit. Such a feat was astonishing. And with all his years of training and perfecting his bloodline, Basara could barely recreate such a phenomenon. He remembered how his mother would create orbits with the snap of her fingers, distorting the world around them. Mio had just accidentally created an orbit. In the distance, Maria rose from the ground in pain. She felt strange, as if an invisible force was pulling her in the direction of the battle. Her eyes widened as she saw pieces of wood and pebbles flying in one direction, and she quickly ran. How impressive! Lars used his aura and wings to avoid being drawn to Mio, but that didn't stop him from watching things around him spin around Mio. Even the earth lifted off the ground and floated in the girl's orbit. I can't let this place be destroyed, not in plain sight. He approached the girl, ignored her angry glare, and spread his glowing wings. A few sounded as the two teleported past chunks of land. Basara cursed furiously as he ran to where Mio had been. Master! Where is the young lady? I don't know, that guy took her, and she just disappeared. Do you think they are far away? I don't know, I'll try to trace the magic signature. There's no time, use the Master Servant Pact to find her. Basara blinked. His time as an exorcist had given him a lot of experience following magical trails, and he'd have no problem tracking someone who had just teleported away, but using the pact would save a lot of time. I found it. Let's go. They both deployed magic circles beneath their feet, the circles glowing before disappearing. They appeared in a wooded area, but it didn't take long for them to find Mio. She was floating, a reddish tornado licking her body. Large chunks of debris were devoured and destroyed by its gravitational pull, a singular point collapsing in on itself. At this rate, a black hole would open up and swallow the entire city. Mira, it's a Seekin. He saw it. She was struggling with a fallen angel, while screaming for him to give her something back. Issei headbutted her, stunning her and allowing him to knock her down, but the fall knocked him back with a kick while he drove a spear of light into her leg. "You've got me fed up, you slash." Basara slit her throat, and Rainer's lifeless head fell to the ground. Hayate looked at him in surprise and a little scared by his display of violence. "Basara-san, I'm afraid we don't have much time to talk. Did you see a guy wearing a mask? Mask?" "No. I was rescuing my friend, fighting with Yuma, until that tornado appeared." "It's not a tornado," Maria interrupted. "It's Miss Mio, and if we don't stop her, the whole city will be destroyed." As if in response to his words, the gravitational mass around Mio began to collapse, tearing at the very fabric of reality. Still, faced with the imminent threat of annihilation before him, Basara managed to catch a glimpse of Mio. "Valance out of here. I'll take care of this." "What? My lord?" Issei and Maria questioned him seriously. Basara responded by releasing his own gravity magic, easing the suffocating pressure on the field. "I'll bring Mio home, no matter what it takes." Basara advanced until he was only a few meters away from Mio, and from there he could already feel a pressure that, if not for his own gravity magic, would have broken his bones. "My, Basara," she responded to his scream, so she was conscious. Good, a chance to save the day. Wherever Lars was, it didn't seem like he was going to intervene. Whether he escaped or was destroyed doesn't matter to him, only Mio's well-being. "Calm down, it's all over now." "To try, but I can't. I can't control my power," she screamed in terror as his expression turned bitter. She didn't want to hear that. Time passed, and Mio's power soon covered the entire forest, shaking the trees like a raging tornado. She tried to control the singularity, bathing it in her own demonic power to stabilize Mio's energies, but it was no use. Mio was like a bottomless pit of pure energy, and her power and uncontrolled nature only grew. Then it happened, a black hole of terrible destructive force emerged. The only reason it didn't explode completely was because of Basara's efforts to contain it. His body was tense, veins popping out on his face from the inhuman effort. "Basara! You are, too fine. Just a few minor inconveniences, give me a minute, and everything will be okay. I can't hold it back any longer, you just..." "No! I can still fix it, I just need a little more time." As the source of the singularity, Mio's death would immediately end the black hole. At Mio's current level, the world wouldn't be destroyed, but Quest City would be wiped out, maybe more, he wasn't sure. "There's no time. Hurry before I destroy the world, before I drag you and others into this, please kill me." For a moment, Basara's will wavered. Killing Mio was the easiest, quickest, and most rational solution. If she was sacrificed, the city, Basara, and the others would be saved. However, no. What do you mean? Don't be stupid. Between me and thousands of people, the choice is obvious. Of course it is. I choose you, you stupid, whiny sister. His cry touched something in Mio's heart that made her cry wildly. Basara isn't a hero, he's not interested in concepts like sacrifice in the name of the greater good. He's selfish, very selfish. He's the kind of man who would set the world on fire to protect those he loves. "I told you, I'll fight hell itself if I have to. I don't want to hear you talk like you don't matter more to me than thousands of strangers. Nothing matters more to me than my family." His cries had nothing but the truth. "I'll take you home, I'll get you out of this and drag you home if I have to, but I'm not leaving you here. I'll say it again, I still have a way to save you, but I need time. So shut your mouth and let your big brother save you." His words held no reason or logic, just pure stubbornness and raw emotion. That's precisely why she believed him. She nodded again and again and again. "I believe you, please take me home." Basara stood as close as he could without his body being dragged down. He sighed, relaxed his body, and raised Brynhildr to the sky. He was preparing himself, preparing to execute Banishing Shift. I know. I'm late getting a new chapter out again. I've been a bit busy and uninspired, but as a reward, there will be 2 chapters this week. I'll post the next one tomorrow or the day after. Don't worry, I believe you, please take me home." Basara got as close as he could without his body being dragged down. He sighed, relaxed his body, and raised Brynhildr to the sky. He was preparing himself, preparing to execute Banishing Shift perfectly. Banishing Shift. A unique power that, if known, would bring terror to more than one deity. It was elimination in its purest form. Not destruction, not death. It was absolute elimination. To do this, the root of a ghoul's existence, its origin, must be severed. That divine energy that oscillates in all kinds of matter and substances. Divine energy naturally changes location, and in the face of such a massive, uncontrolled force, this energy moved at top speed. If it failed, it would all be over. If it cut through the black hole but hurt Mio, it would have failed. It needed to cut through the source of the vortex of destruction cleanly without a single mistake. Nothing less than 100% was acceptable. His hand trembled as a treacherous thought invaded him. Are you going to delete her too? His heart fluttered as uncertainty gripped him. But it only took 2 words from Mio to calm him, a gentle "I trust you," which convinced him he couldn't fail. Basara inhaled deeply as he entered a state of meditation. There was nothing left, just him, Mio, and the divine energy. He took a step forward, brandished Brynhildr silently, and then silence. Not the absolute silence of a dead place, but the silence that comes after a storm. He opened his eyes, and the fear of having failed vanished. Mio was there, squatting on a broken floor. Her clothes were ripped, the fabric of her blouse torn and showing what should have been her cleavage, but Mio wasn't wearing a bra, which allowed her large mounds to hang freely, swaying with the rhythm of her breathing. You did it, I knew you would. Neither of them noticed when she stood up, or when he hurried over. They only realized their proximity when Mio jumped at him and caught him in a kiss. Their tongues played with each other in a lascivious dance while Mio's boba pressed against Basara's. They lasted for a few seconds until they separated, a thread of saliva connecting their lips. Not that I care, but maybe you should wait until you get home. There was no need to say who that voice belonged to. Issei and Maria looked at them with a mixture of amusement and envy on the part of the former. He noticed that he was carrying the body of a blonde girl. Hi, it is that girl? Yes, it's Asia. I couldn't get there in time. Her sacred gear was taken from her, and then Issei clenched his fists helplessly. Pain was evident on his face, but so was a faint hope. You can save her, right? Maria-san said you have a way to revive the dead? Please save her. Basara gave Maria a sharp look that promised punishment, but she just nodded and whispered later. Hayate, remember what I told you about demons and evil pieces? Well, I am one. I can revive her, but that would mean transforming her into a demon, into the very thing her beliefs abhor most. She might even attempt suicide. Issei hesitated, laying the girl's weak body on the grass while stroking her hair. I will take responsibility, even if he ends up hating you. She had a dream. To make lots of friends and cut flowers together. I promised her she'd make lots of friends. I don't have to be one of them, I just want her to be happy. Basara felt something inside him shudder. Seeing Issei was like seeing himself. Their personalities, histories, and bloodlines might be different, but they had one thing in common: the selfish desire to protect someone, even if that someone didn't want it. He smiled as he took out his box of evil pieces. I'm sorry, Issei Hayate. Issei placed the twilight healing in Asia's hands, and Basara placed a bishop piece on her chest. Both objects glowed before merging into the girl's body. 10 seconds later, Asia started breathing again. She was so tired she was still unconscious, but she was alive. Issei tearfully thanked her and promised to repay Basara for everything he'd done for them. Example: Rias Gremry and her entourage arrived to attend to matters in her territory. She crossed her arms, highlighting her large boba s. Basara sighed tiredly. I suppose you want some explanations. Any? I think I deserve to know why a noble I don't know is in my city, under the identity of a mage, recruiting without my permission. Oh, she'd seen it all. Basara looked up at the night sky and grimaced. This was going to be a long night. Lars watched from a distance as Rias Gremry and Basara Tuju's entourages left. Even hidden among the trees, he could see Mio clinging to Basara's arm. Whether it was out of affection or to cover her bare chest, he didn't care, only that she was alive. Fascinating. He has a way of containing his power. That changed things. He wasn't particularly in a hurry to carry out his employer's order, and it would be foolish to try it in the near future. He considered his next move and made a decision. He needed more information, to get to know his targets more closely. He wasn't in a hurry, but he needed to be discreet. Enter as a student? Maybe, but first he needs to file a report. Azazel will be interested in this. Basara had convinced Rias to discuss it at his house. Upon arriving, issei took Asia to rest in Maria's room, and Mio changed her clothes. Now everyone was at a table, sitting face to face. What are your intentions and what clan do you belong to? Rias got straight to the point. We just want a quiet life, and as for my clan, I don't think you'll like the answer. Rias frowned, as if to say, it's not a question. I think I deserve an explanation. I was not part of any noble clan. I come from a dishonored clan, the Abaddon clan. Silence, gasp, and then silence. Rias knew that clan perfectly. It was the one that led the conservative fiction during the Demon Civil War. If what Basara said was true, then she was facing a delicate situation, to say the least. Basara wasn't indifferent to her gaze, and he sighed heavily. Abaddon, aren't they supposed to be extinct? Bah! Those bourgeois and their nonsense, Maria laughed. The venerable Abaddon clan persists. We simply dug in our lands after the Civil War. Are you also part of the Abaddon clan? And not exactly. I'm a clan servant, serving Miss Mio personally. Has an Abaddon been living in my territory since before I arrived? Mio frowned, uncomfortable. She didn't like being called Abaddon. She was Neruz, just like her parents, her true parents in all but blood. My parents didn't want me to live surrounded by the problems of the demonic nobility, so they left me with a couple of lesser demons to raise me as a human. She let out a sigh of regret. 2 months ago, some demons came to our home. They killed my parents and tried to capture me, but Maria came to rescue me. She told me about my real parents and they called my father and me. I was also raised in the human world, so we were the best option to ask for help. We took the identity of magicians and well, things happened. Basara explained his story, lying in some parts. They didn't need to know that Maria and Mio tried to steal their house. He talked about how his father left, what happened to issei, and what they knew up until the end of Asia's resurrection. That's a lot to take in. Rias was perplexed. She looked at Mio and issei with some compassion. However, someone broke that tranquility. What kind of demon uses a holy sword? Kiba asked, unusually threateningly. Basara looked at him with a hint of irritation but answered. He gave a vague summary of his life as Ayu and then as an exorcist. How come they didn't kill you? The question was valid. Neither the Ayu nor the exorcists would leave a demon alive, much less allow it to work as one of their own. As long as I kept it hidden and didn't use my bloodline, no one would suspect. The higher-ups knew, but my father is a very influential person. Enough that the top brass of the most demonophobic organizations in existence would allow you to work with them freely? Have you heard the name Jean Tuju? Jean Tuju. It was a very specific name, too specific. There was only one person whose name matched and who was known in the supernatural world. Rias's heart stopped for a moment as she examined Basara's facial features in detail, and found with horror that they matched the images taken of the human who rampaged through the Agar's clan lands and fought equally against her brother. Jean Tuju. How Jean Tuju, the god of war, terror of demons, king of ashes, the superhuman, yes, that one, by Lucifer's sword. Rias and her peerage held their breath. There was only one man who was feared and respected in equal measure throughout the underworld, and that was Jean Tuju. A monster in human skin with the strength to single-handedly wipe out entire clans, someone capable of taking on his own brother, and ending in a draw or, as Sirzek put it, an indefinite ceasefire. She felt suddenly nervous, but masked it with a slightly surprised expression. Do you have proof? Basara only had to show her a photo of himself with his father for Rias to be convinced. She rubbed her temples, frustrated by the long report she would have to write. I have many questions. About you being the son of Jean Tuju and an Abaddon, about how you obtained those evil pieces, and why, in the name of Lucifer, of all places in the world, you chose to live in my territory. She sounded very, very distressed, and Basara didn't blame her. Whether it was because of his Abaddon or Tuju ancestry, he should be a bitter enemy of hers, a Gremry devil, sister of the Mao Lucifer himself. It was as if the ruler of a country at war were grazing in the capital of his enemy country. Basara explained as best he could. He didn't go into too much detail about his parents, But he did say that Jean had argued that this was the last place they could look for him, and that he hadn't told him until a few days after arriving, the very day they left on his trip. He talked about the evil pieces as a favor his mother had collected from the Mao Beelzebub. By the end of the conversation, everyone was more relaxed, mainly because of how unfortunate a guy like Jean Touja had turned out to be. I'm very sorry for the inconvenience, but we really don't have any bad intentions. I think I can understand. I also moved here to get away from the hectic life of the nobles. No hard feelings then? Rias snorted in amusement. I still haven't fully grasped the situation. What do you think about joining the occult club? We could get to know each other better. Maria gasped exaggeratedly. She looked at Rias with a falsely offended expression. Miss Gremory, are you trying to be my master? Everyone fell silent. They looked at Rias, and found her looking somewhere between surprised and embarrassed. Aquino stared at Maria before smiling. Era. Bucho, I knew you wanted to recruit Tijukan as your horse, but I didn't think you would do it so blatantly. Basara groaned, knowing which way the conversation would go. Kokabeel walked through the halls of the Ragnarok Colosseum. He didn't deign to go through the stands, but instead went through a network of corridors leading to the VIP seats. He was a fan of gladiator fights, and it wasn't unusual to see him in those parts. But today he didn't come to enjoy the spectacle, but to negotiate. Among the dozen privileged and servants, he stopped by one in particular, a white-haired woman who sat on a marble throne watching the spectacle. One. Slaanesh. He knocked, and the woman turned to look at him. She flashed a wide, sensual smile. Kokabeel, it's good to see you. To what do I owe your presence? Don't tell me. Have you reconsidered my offer to join me in my bed? Slaanesh raised his hand to his cheek and laughed modestly. Kokabeel snorted, almost amused. I would never walk away after spending just one night of mating with a demon, much less with you. If Slaanesh took offense, he didn't show it, just continued to smile as a purple mist enveloped the room. A soft scent filled his nose, like the cool breeze of a flowery field. He could even taste something sweet that made his palate drool. Kokabeel frowned, flapped his wings vigorously, and blew all the mist away. The cabin windows shattered, but no one scolded him or attacked him. Everyone there knew what had happened, what Slaanesh had attempted. Don't do that again. I can't promise that. I love those who resist. I don't have time for games, I need something from you. The mother of the succubi tilted her head, intrigued. She snapped her fingers, and a black throne appeared beside her. Kokabeel went and sat beside her. What could someone like you want from me? Kokabeel, I'm trying to reforge Excalibur, and I know you have the mimic fragment. Slaanesh put a finger to his chin and tried to remember. He mumbled the word Excalibur several times, as if it were unfamiliar to him. Excalibur, yes, I had it, but I gave it to my champion. In fact, she's down there fighting right now. Kokabeel deigned to look at the Colosseum, and found the sight intriguing to say the least. 20 warriors engaged in a brutal and bloody battle. There were no alliances, nor any consolation for the losers. There was only room for one winner, the one who would rise victorious from a pile of corpses. A werewolf lashed out brutally and bisected a woman's torso, then was stabbed in the back by the claws of a vampire. It was a festival of violence that Kokabeel enjoyed, especially watching a gigantic minotaur crush his rivals and cleave them in half with an axe. Slaanesh, however, said champion, so he looked for a woman with a sword. It didn't take long to find her. She was young, no more than 18 years old. Light brown hair, 2 pigtails. She was well developed, and she attacked with a katana whose holy aura Kokabeel could detect, even from meters away. He recognized her for an obvious reason. The girl was naked, unadorned except for the bands on her pigtails. Kokabeel snorted. That girl looked like she wanted to be raped, strutting shamelessly in front of a crowd. Slaanesh noticed his gaze. Her name is Shida Irina. She was an exorcist when I found her. It was fun twisting her and making her addicted to me. Fufufu, she didn't hesitate to steal the sword when I asked her to. And after he became your favorite pet, you gave him a church relic like it was a trinket. And not bad at all. Slaanesh chuckled, his soft laughter sounding like a heavenly melody. You can look at it that way, but you're fooling yourself if you think my baby doesn't deserve it. Just watch. Kokabeel narrowed his eyes, half curious and half skeptical, turned his attention to the girl, and boy did it surprise him. "Hey, you stupid furries!" Irina yelled at a group of fighting werewolves, stealing their attention. "What's up with you guys? You prefer to play with swords when you have a beautiful naked lady in front of you?" Irina turned around, bent over, and showed off her big, firm butt. She shook her bum provocatively, up and down, several times. She finished the show by slapping herself and winking at them. "Come closer, jealous dogs." Whether out of murderous intent, indignation, or simply the desire to rape the insolent human in front of them, the werewolves pounced. They approached with weapons in hand, and the closer they got, the wetter Irina's delicious, heart-shaped womanhood became. When they were close enough, she straightened and brandished her sword. Slash! One of the werewolf's arms fell to the ground, severed. Irina let out a mocking tee. The girl continued to narrowly avoid each slash and blow, moving like a slithering snake, bending her body in inhuman ways as her own sword twisted. The blade danced like a ribbon of paper, but cut with lightning-like precision. Irina struck a strange pose, arching her back, touching her heels, and then walking with her hands to strike the swordsman's neck with her feet. The fight only lasted a minute longer, mainly because Irina was having fun fighting, striking mating Y poses before decapitating them. Kokobil gave a high-pitched whistle. He had to admit, the girl was a good fighter, quite brazen and exhibitionist, but she made up for it with her ability to kill, something someone like him could recognize. Her style is very extravagant, and no one who sees her would think she's anything more than a, but she is an exceptional warrior. Oh Kokobil, my girl is not a. She is a virgin lady who has never known the pleasures of a man, a chaste lady who goes naked to her fights. Allow me to be skeptical, miss. Kokobil drew out that last word like a mockery. Slaynish's expression didn't waver, but the armrest of his throne cracked as his fingers dug into the hard, cushioned rock. The lady of House Asmodeus gave him a patently false smile. "You're very brave to ask a lady for something and call her a to her face, or maybe you're just stupid." "I apologize then." "Why is your champion fighting naked then?" Kokobil changed the subject, and before Slanish could respond, a voice roared through the Colosseum speakers. "And the 3-time undefeated champion of blood duels is Irina Shadu." The crowd roared with applause and cheers as Irina, still naked, stood over the dead Minotaur's chest. She withdrew the sword from around the Minotaur's neck, revealing a blade much wider than her katana before transforming into a bracelet. Irina bowed exaggeratedly as if she were the lead character in a play, blowing kisses to the crowd as she laughed and danced, shaking her boban bum for all to see. "Stop looking at her nakedness, and start looking at her body. That's where you'll find the reason my girl is naked." Kokobil rolled his eyes but obeyed. He looked closely at Irina's body, her pronounced curves, her white, unbruised skin unbruised, uncut. Kokobil's eyes widened. "He fights naked to prove that no one can scratch him. A vulgar but effective way to show off his skill." "You got it right. But we're getting off topic. What did I gain by giving you the Excalibur?" "I plan to reactivate the war between the 3 factions, but on a larger scale." Slanish almost spilled his drink. His violet eyes looked at Kokobil with renewed interest. "Continue." "After resolving the matter with the Gremory clan, it was decided that Basara and his family could stay. Basara politely declined the proposal to join the club, stating that for the time being they wanted to focus on their studies and instilling magic arts in Issei and Asia. After the Gremory group left, Issei went to check on Asia's condition. The girl was still asleep, exhausted both physically and spiritually from the night. Issei sat beside her, stroking her long, delicate golden hair. He waited for her to wake up, and he did so with equal parts anxiety and fear. He spent the entire night awake, enough time to reflect, and he knew the girl would probably hate him. She had trusted him, and she had repaid him by offering her soul, transforming him into a demon, and denying herself the right to ascend to paradise. Did he feel guilty? Yes. Did he regret it? Not at all. Haida Issei isn't someone who backs down from his decisions, much less if those actions involve saving his friends. Still, he couldn't help but feel a deep anguish in his chest. His thoughts were interrupted when Asia woke up. "Messizen, Asia. You're finally awake. That's a relief, you had me worried." "Really? What happened?" "It's a long story, Issei summarized as best he could everything that happened after she died. How a red tornado that was actually a friend destroyed the church, how a friend killed Rainer, and how Issei begged Basara to resurrect her. Asia listened silently to every word, amazed by everything she heard. You've become a demon, you can't go to heaven anymore. Asia remained silent, but Issei could feel the sadness radiating off her. I understand. Issei clenched his hands into fists. I'm sorry. If I had been stronger, you wouldn't have had to die in the first place, you wouldn't have had to become a demon. Issei, you did everything you could, but it wasn't enough. You were dead. The only reason we're even talking is because Basara agreed to revive you. I couldn't get there in time, and I couldn't even beat Rainer. His tone was tired, almost shaky like his body. I failed at everything I set out to do, and yet I still denied you your last chance to see heaven. Asia wanted to say something, but Issei interrupted her. I have no regrets. If I were in the same situation, I would do it again. I want you to be happy. It doesn't matter if you hate me or don't want to see me again. I promised you that one day you would go pick flowers with friends even if I'm not one of them. He bowed his head. He didn't want to see her face, the pain of a betrayed expression, or her anger. He would endure her contempt, but it never came, only the soft touch of a gentle hand. He looked up and found the comforting gaze of a smile. How could I hate my only friend? Asia, Issei, you resurrected me because you care about me, right? Of course. Never doubt that. Then I know everything will be okay. The Lord works in mysterious ways, but I know He hasn't abandoned me. It was by His grace that I came here and was able to meet you and have fun for the first time in my life. Even if I can't be by His side, I thank Him so much for giving me a friend like you. Issei now held back the urge to cry. He couldn't resist it. Asia was too pure for this world. What does it matter if she's a demon now? To him, she's a true angel. As long as you stay by my side, I know everything will be okay. Asia summoned the twin rings of twilight healing and looked at them solemnly. She removed one of them from her left hand. Even if I am not worthy to bear his gift, Asia. Issei stood up and held Asia's hands firmly. When she looked at him, she found a burning determination in his eyes. You are the most noble person I have ever met. If anyone deserves to have a gift from God, believe me, it's you. Issei, listen to me. He took a deep breath. His left hand formed a fist, which he brought to his heart. It glowed a luminous green as the boosted gear formed. I won't let anything like that happen to you again. I won't live long enough to be with you for the rest of my life, but I promise I'll be by your side for the rest of mine. He leaned down and took Asia's ring as he stared at her. He didn't think about what he would say, he just went with the flow. Let his heart guide the way. I promise to share the dreams, the laughter, and the tears. It doesn't matter if I break every bone in my body, I swear I'll take care of you. I'll be your friend. Your best friend. I'll never let anyone hurt you again. He slid the ring onto her ring finger, and I swear I heard Asia gasp. How interesting. A voice murmured inside him, one he couldn't quite hear. Still, it was as if that voice was guiding him in his next words. In health or sickness, in peace or war. I will protect you until I shed the last drop of my blood and exhaust all my breaths. This is my oath, one of fire and scales. Reset. Both twilight healing and boosted gear vanished into a speck of green light, dancing like a swirling array of petals. Asia stared in awe. Tears began to stream down her face as she nodded, filled with nothing but pure joy. I accept. She claimed him in a tight hug, which Issei reciprocated. Neither of them noticed Maria recording with her cell phone behind the half-open door, nor did they pay attention to Mio's knocking and scolding. It was just them, their hug, and the shared warmth. Of course, Issei is as dense as a rock, and he didn't notice how compromising the words of her speech were, or what Asia had meant by I do. Later he will find out, and faint one, but for now both young people are lost in each other's warmth. My name is Asia Argento, and I hope we can get along. Please take care of me. A week had passed since the Asia incident, and Basara had been very busy. He took the time to get to know Asia, and he was able to understand why Issei liked her so much. The girl is truly a godsend. It was a bit difficult deciding where she would stay, but fortunately Issei offered to let Asia stay at his home, which she didn't refuse, hugging him and rubbing against the brunette like a playful puppy. After several formalities by issei's parents and negotiations with Rias, Asia was admitted to Qua Academy. Asia ended up in the same classroom as Issei, Basara, and Mio. The blonde sat next to Issei, sticking close to him with a sweet smile. The girls in the classroom looked dismayed at her closeness to the brunette, and even asked if he had blackmailed her in some way. Asia always denied such claims, responding with incredibly alarming words. "I like being with him. He's the person I'd like to spend the rest of my life with." Rumors and whispers quickly spread throughout the student body, many of them speaking of a relationship between the perverted beast and the blonde maiden. The rumors weren't far from the truth, if there was any truth to what Issei had told him when his parents met Asia. Anyway, he didn't pay much attention to Asia because a new male student had also joined them, one named Yahiro Tokigawa. "I think I'll join you," Yahiro declared out of nowhere. "Why exactly? You have the face of someone who is dogged by trouble. If I hang out with you, I'm sure my time at the academy will be entertaining." And that's how he made a new friend. To be honest, he wasn't complaining. Tokigawa was nice, and it was a breath of fresh air to talk to another boy his age about things unrelated to magic or naughtyography. Issei isn't a bad guy, but dealing with him can be complicated sometimes. The days passed, and from time to time they were invited to the occult research club to discuss various matters. They began to get along with the Gremmy group, and although they weren't close friends, they were on good terms. But that peace was interrupted when Kiba stood in front of him with an aggressive expression. "Basara Tuju, you're back in a duel. Basara Tuju, you're back in a duel." Basara remained silent for a moment, looking momentarily perplexed at Kiba, who had a serious expression filled with contempt. Yahiro looked at him with a raised eyebrow, but he didn't really know what to think. They were at school until lunchtime. He went to eat lunch with Yahiro and Issei, and Kiba suddenly showed up demanding to fight. "Duel, are you going to play that kid's card game?" Pfft. Yahiro sounded amused, but Kiba wasn't in the mood. He stood right in front of the dark-haired man with a serious look. "Okay, calm down a little, will you? If a fight is what you're looking for, then I'll have no qualms about knocking your teeth out." Kiba's eyes glittered. Suddenly, Yahiro's vision clouded, and all semblance of consciousness vanished. "Get out of here. Don't look for us for the rest of the day." No sooner said than done. Yahiro grabbed his bento and headed through the door to head down the stairs as Kiba watched him leave. When even the sound of footsteps faded, Kiba heard a hiss in the air. Basara wielded Brynhilde, pointing it at him threateningly. "What are you trying to do?" "I just hypnotized him so he wouldn't get involved. Should I take it as a threat?" "I don't care how you take it, just that you die." A black cross sword that gave off a great demonic aura appeared in Kiba's hands as he stepped back to gain distance. Issei summoned his boosted gear and got into position, but Basara calmed him down. "Issei, stay back," Basara said to him. A thin layer of greenish aura covered his body. Issei looked tensely at the two of them, his boosted gear ready, preparing to intervene if necessary. Basara didn't move, he stood still, his eyes fixed on Kiba, analyzing his stance and weapon. He considered his opponent's possible moves and how he could counter them. He didn't have to wait long, though, because Kiba suddenly launched himself at him. Clank! Their weapons collided, causing a struggle between the two. Kiba tried to crush Basara with brute force, but the exorcist refused to be knocked down. He put a lot of force into the struggle, and to Kiba's horror, he was winning, almost forcing him to his knees. "TSK. I won't let you." Kiba stepped back, narrowly avoiding Brynhilde's slash. Basara didn't continue attacking him, or try to overwhelm him as he retreated. He just remained on guard. "If you weren't one of your mistress's servants, I would have executed you. A hypocrite in the church has no right to criticize me." Basara frowned. This kid definitely had a problem with him, but he didn't know what. "I think we resolved that issue a few days ago. Don't think that just because you deceived my mistress I'll let you get away with it. I don't care whose son you are, or if you managed to deceive my friends." "So you attacked us against Gremorrison's orders," Basara interrupted him. Kiba didn't deny it, just tightened his grip on his weapon as murderous rage flared in his eyes. "I won't let you hurt them," Basara sighed. He knew it would be useless to talk, so he did the only reasonable thing. He sent a call for help to Mio through their connection. Not only did it allow him to communicate, but it also gave Mio his exact location. In times like these, the pact came in very handy. At the same time, he unleashed a raw pulse of his aura that bathed the school, and everyone could feel it like a gust of wind. Kiba wasn't intimidated. The two lunged at each other in an elegant sword dance. They attacked without hesitation, slicing through the air in their quest to exterminate their rival. Minutes passed, and issei had to strengthen his vision to keep up. To normalize, the two appeared and disappeared in every direction on the rooftop, exchanging sword blows. Crack! In one of their many sword clashes, Kiba's weapon cracked, and Basara responded by shattering the blade and pointing the tip of Brynhilde at the blonde's neck. But Kiba summoned another sword and forced him back. Just as they seemed to resume their fight, an imposing voice was heard. "What are you two doing?" The one speaking was Rias, accompanied by her peerage and another group of demons. The Citri peerage, who made up the student council, led by President Sauna or as she was truly called, Sona Citri, heiress of the Citri clan. Basara's peerage soon emerged from a magic circle, appearing at her side, completely alert. "Basara, I got your message." "What happened?" "Yudo came out of nowhere, hypnotized the student, and tried to kill me for no reason." Mio's gaze turned icy, her eyes glancing at the blonde with a dangerous red glow. Rias was taken aback by her words. "Kiba, is that true? Don't listen to him. He's just trying to trick you." Basara was not impressed by the refusal, and continued speaking. "He said I somehow tricked Gremorison into explaining my situation the night I was in, and he called me a hypocrite of the church. I don't know why he attacked me, but he clearly has a problem." Both Rias and her peerage grimaced. Kiba tensed when his teacher's gaze fell on him. She looked at him with a variety of emotions, but the one that interested Basara was guilt. "Tuja, I'm so sorry. I should have suspected something like this would happen. I'll make sure to discipline him properly." "No!" Kiba shouted angrily, and to Rias's horror, he pointed his sword at Basara. "I want a duel with you, and when I win, I'll destroy that holy sword." Basara frowned, but the one who responded was a furious Mio. "You imbecile! How dare you threaten him? Take one step forward and I'll burn you to a crisp. I'll kill you 100 times over." "Don't interfere, Naruz. This is between Tuja and me." "It's not." "Kiba!" Rias yelled, with more anger and authority than ever in her life. Such an unnatural display of character shook Kiba, who refused to meet her eyes. "Kiba, no. I won't let you fight Tuja just because you hate his sword. It's not even one of those holy swords." "Interesting. So his aggression stems from Brynhilde, but he apparently harbors hatred for a specific set of holy swords. The only thing that comes to mind are the fragments of Excalibur. It doesn't matter if it's not one of those swords, it's a holy sword, the same type of weapon as those things. If I can't break any ordinary sword, how will I be able to destroy the Excalibur?" "Well, that confirms your theory, which leaves you with another question. Really, why would anyone hate a sword?" "Kiba! Enough." "It's fine, Gremorison. He clearly won't stop trying until he can fight me." Basara sighed in annoyance. "But don't expect me to just bet my sword in exchange for being left alone. I want something in return if I win, but since he has nothing I'm interested in, perhaps you, Gremorison, can give it to me." "Really?" Rias asked, slightly surprised. Basara nodded. "As long as it's reasonable, you can ask me anything you want. Do you have access to the family forest?" "I have shared access with the Citri clan. As a reward, I would like you to allow my peerage, issei, and me a free pass. The Forest of Familiars is a peculiar place. It's an area where a vast number of magical creatures of all kinds gather. It's an ideal place to acquire a familiar, but it's also very exclusive. The forest is the territory of the Dragon Queen Tiamat, and she stands as the apex predator. All creatures that inhabit the forest are produced by her primordial powers, so permission from the Dragon Queen is required to enter and take one of her creatures. Not even most demon clans can allow exclusive access, and only extremely wealthy clans like the Phoenix or Agars can afford that luxury. That's asking too much, Tuja. I only want the pass once. That seems like a fair price." What do you say, Sona?" Rias asked her friend. Sona answered calmly. "I was thinking of getting a familiar for my new pawn, but given the circumstances, I think I can wait until the next full moon." What a surprise. A Citri acting decently? The derogatory comment came from none other than Maria. The succubus looked at the brunette with disdain, as if looking for an excuse to jump in and pummel her face. Sona adjusted her glasses, revealing her perfectly furrowed brow of annoyance. May I know why you decided to insult me out of nowhere, Naruz? You still ask? Any servant of Clan Abaddon knows how sneaky the Citri clan vixens can be. The atmosphere suddenly turned icy, and the two girls' gazes became piercing. Only Rias and Basara knew the origin of this argument, a disdain between clans dating back to the end of the Demon's Civil War. Maria, that's enough. There's no reason to be hostile to the Citri. Is there no reason? It was this harlot's sister who condemned our victory. That filthy traitor who spat on Sapphire Abaddon's trust. Maria, be quiet, Basara ordered coldly, his tone harsh and leaving no room for argument. Maria closed her mouth, then, on impulse, remained silent, pouting. Basara sighed and stroked her head. He couldn't get too angry with Maria for the rage he felt himself. He looked at Sona with a neutral expression, a poker face. Excuse me? Maria is very patriotic to my clan for someone who lived in Abaddon territory until recently. It's somewhat complicated dealing with the Citri. Sona didn't feel any less offended, but at least she was understanding. I understand. Let's hurry then. I don't want to fuel that contempt much longer, Basara sighed. This day was really going to be very stressful. Chisato Hasegawa stared contemplatively at the barrier in front of her. It wasn't anything remarkable, just a large radius barrier that instills in any being incapable of sensing magic the desire to distance themselves or ignore the place. It was meant to keep out ordinary humans, but she isn't human, much less ordinary. He passed through the barrier without any problems, and placed his attentive gaze on Basara Tuju, who was preparing to duel against Kiba Yudo. It hasn't even been a month and you're already getting into fights, she thought, slightly amused. It reminded her of Raphaeline, always butting into other factions' affairs to avoid as many deaths as possible, all out of the nobility of her heart. She blinked twice. A new presence broke through the barrier. She looked up at the ceiling of one of the classrooms and found a teacher staring questioningly at Basara. She snorted in annoyance. That fool thought he'd tricked her, but the truth is, he knew he'd been following her from the moment she descended into the human world. At first, she let it go because she thought it was adorable that her followers cared so much about her, but lately, he's become a nuisance. I'll take care of him later. With the terms decided, the three groups agreed that the duel would take place on the edge of the academy forest. They set up a barrier so no civilians could intrude. Kiba and Basara stood at opposite ends, wielding their swords. Basara personally felt this fight was absurd, but he didn't shy away from it. He hadn't had a sword fight in years, since he retired from the exorcists. But unlike before Mio and Maria came into his life, he's no longer rusty. He's resumed constant practice and has faced many demons that try to attack Mio at night. They stared at each other. Kiba's burning rage and Basara's serenity and concentration met. Begin! Rias screamed. Both swordsmen became blurs that disappeared from human sight. The metallic sound of their blades clashing announced their existence. They began an elegant sword dance, exuding danger and mastery in every movement. Kiba found an opening. He charged at him, plunging his sword into his stomach. Clank! But Basara managed to block with Brynhilde, forcing him back with a kick. The kick threw Kiba several meters back, but he managed to land on his feet. Basara appeared in front of him with overwhelming speed and launched a downward slash. Kiba placed the dull part of his sword in his other hand and tried to block the blow. Crash! But the sword broke. Brynhilde's blade pointed at the demon's neck. Are you giving up? Basara asked. He received a grunt in response. A new sword appeared in Kiba's hands, a different one. It didn't attack him, he stuck it into the ground. Basara leaped back several meters. His instincts warned him of the danger, and he managed to avoid the whirlwind of fire that had sprung from that sword. Sword birth, Basara muttered. Sword birth is one of the most versatile sacred gears in existence, having the power to create any type of demonic sword. It was a troublesome power, but he had plenty of practice with its holy sword equivalent, Blade Blacksmith. Kiba didn't stop there. He summoned another sword and unleashed powerful wind whirlwinds that combined with his sea of fire. Basara had several ways to avoid that attack, whether with his gravity magic or simply by moving, but after having managed to erase Mio's unstable power without inflicting damage, he no longer had any doubts about what to use. Basara swung Brynhildr, and a shocking roar was heard. Seconds later, Kiba's combined attack completely disappeared. Did Turju just erase Kiba's attack? The demons expressed their disbelief. Kiba himself was shocked, almost enough to fail to block the incoming attack. Basara was powerful in the magic field, but his specialty was close combat, and every slash, every hit, and every movement gave him an advantage against the demon. He's good. Not top class, but he definitely fights at one's level. Basara had to admit, Kiba Yudo was strong. His speed was impressive, his powers very versatile, and most notable was his talent and skill with the sword. He didn't look much older than 20, yet he displayed a mastery that many warriors with decades of practice would envy. He was almost as strong as him, almost. His speed, while impressive, was surpassed by Basara's by a margin of 8 to 10. His strength and endurance, on the other hand, are far, far greater than the demon's. Every magical attack he launched was easily erased by banishing shift. And in terms of talent, Kiba isn't bad by any means, but Basara is an unparalleled genius. As a child, he was able to stand up to his strongest and most experienced elders. Even with his small body, he was able to close such a huge gap with sheer talent. Every passing second allows him to understand his fighting style, and every exchange of blows allows him to decipher a pattern in his movements, allowing him to predict them. At a certain point, Basara no longer seemed tense. He moved his sword with an elegance and precision that unnerved Kiba. Clank! A cold sweat trickled down Kiba's forehead. Basara had made a single movement, and if he hadn't raised his sword to the level of his neck, he would have been decapitated. What disconcerted him most was the calm expression on his face, as if he hadn't done anything impressive. There was a crack, and then the sword broke. Kiba ducked before taking the cut, but Basara kicked him back several meters. As he recovered, Kiba spat out blood. He looked at his hand as a tremor ran through him. Because I'm stronger. Leave it like that. This fight is unnecessary. Basara's weak attempts to calm Kiba only enraged him further. He stood up, summoned a new sword, and charged, screaming in fury. By that point, the battle was already decided. Basara dodged and countered every move with ease, slowly growing accustomed to Kiba's style. With each passing second, every movement and technique Kiba deployed, Basara was able to predict his opponent's moves more easily. Attacks were repelled, techniques were punished, and swords were broken after a few clashes with Brynhildr. This situation only made Kiba more hysterical, impulsively attacking to land a single move, and ironically becoming easier to fight in the process. He attempted to overwhelm him with his superhuman abilities, but was outmatched in every way. He even tried to push his sacred gear to the limit, unleashing hurricanes, firestorms, and ice blasts, but they were all easily erased by banishing shift. For Kiba, it was like facing his opposite, a superior version with a counter to everything he threw at him. For Basara, it was a way to practice and test his prowess in a particular area. Crash! With the 11th sword broken, Kiba was enraged. His body trembled with inhuman fury, but Basara remained calm. Kiba spat and concentrated a great amount of demonic power between his hands. That is, sword of destruction. Kiba let out a scream. He was holding an exact copy of Brynhildr, only black and twice as large, a gigantic size considering how large Brynhildr is on her own. The demon charged at him as he swung the false Brynhildr, reddish flashes trailing from the blade. The weapon's destructive power was evident, but even more so was its slow movement. He traded strength for speed, completely abandoned his strong suit, and now he's charging at me like a rabid dog. Pathetic. It was Basara's disappointed thought. He had expected more from a noble demon's knight. It was time to end this encounter. Basara dispelled Brynhildr in the air and waited for Kiba to attack him. This action enraged the blonde and worried the spectators, who shouted at him to be careful. Basara just stared at Kiba, his eyes deadly serious. His hands opened and closed, and a flash of greenish light was born in his palms. Muri! Kiba's roar as he brought down the fake Brynhildr was monstrous, But even more shocking was the way Basara dodged to the side and with a kick to the back of his legs knocked Kiba face down onto the ground. The Tuju wouldn't leave him alone. 2 emerald-colored lightsabers appeared in his hands, and he proceeded to stab him in the calves. Brynhildr isn't just an ordinary sword, it's a sword that shouldn't exist, a profane weapon that combines sacred and demonic powers. While being the only wholly demonic sword in the world makes it invaluable, its true power lies in its special ability, which gave it the name the Soul Eater. Brynhildr will steal the soul of anyone slain by her blade, then devour that same soul and drain its powers, transferring that power to its wielder one. Aside from Rainier, she has already eliminated several fallen angels as an exorcist, so naturally she can use weapons of light. Instead of creating spears, she chooses to create swords to avoid being too obvious and to avoid questions she doesn't want to answer. Kiba screamed excruciatingly. It wasn't the pain of being wounded, but the spiritual damage caused by weapons of light. He tried to reach for the fake Brynhildr lying on the ground, but Basara summoned a third sword and stabbed it into his palm before he could reach it. The pain was indescribable, and his screams bore witness to it. The brunette shook his head. "Are you giving up now, or do I have to keep going?" "Arg, you!" "Wuh!" A fourth sword now in his other palm. Kiba Yudo was rooted to the ground like an animal, unable to escape or do anything but scream. It was humiliating, something that shouldn't be possible, or so he thought. Basara shook his head. "If I keep hurting you, you might end up dying. Gremory-san, could you declare me the winner?" Rias had a very sour expression on her face. She hated seeing her servants get hurt, but Kiba had brought it on himself. She gave a resigned sigh. "Of course. I, Rias of the Gremory clan, acknowledge the defeat of my knight to you, Basara of the Abaddon clan." After Rias said that, Basara dispelled his lightsabers, but not before giving Kiba a warning look. When he went back to his group, he was showered with praise. "Basara, that was amazing. I can't believe you're so strong. Don't worry, we'll solve that same dilemma tomorrow." And, as issei cheered, Asia timidly approached. "Do you need me to heal your wounds, Basara-san?" "No thanks, I'm fine. Just a few scratches, nothing serious." Her words reassured her friends, and in turn, made them curious about the strength of the demons. Mio crossed her arms as she said, "I couldn't expect anything less," with a smile. The redhead hugged Basara's hand and buried it between her bulbas. The brunette almost gasped in surprise, but the girl gave him a mischievous smile as they walked. As the group left, Maria turned, looked at the demons, and gave them a mocking but friendly gesture, at least to the Gremories. She gave Sona the middle finger, and then left. A swollen vein throbbed on Sona's forehead. She let out a very unladylike grunt as she struggled not to scream and fire an energy blast at the succubus. "She'll be a constant pain in the bum." Rias ran over to Kiba, gently caressing his cheeks before scooping him up in her arms. Yudo groaned, but ignored it. She'd have to take him to a closed room and begin treating his wounds. As she carried her servant in her arms, her thoughts turned to Basara Tuju. "He's definitely as strong as Reiser, maybe more. I need to get his help somehow." After school and a productive time for issei and Asia, Basara and his sisters went home. He was sweaty and tired, so he went to take a shower. He was surprised by the strange look the two girls shared when they said yes. He couldn't tell which worried him more, Mio's shyness and blushing, or Maria's mischievous laughter. He submerged himself in the tub, and the water completely covered his naked body, bathing his many scars as he lay back. "I wonder what happened to that Lars guy. Someone at his level can't die that easily." It wasn't just having someone with the power of an ultimate class devil on his neck that worried him whether or not he knows who his father is, yet he still chose to attack them. He probably has the backing of one of his father's enemies, which could escalate from evil to "we need to leave this dimension immediately. Tsk, you irresponsible old man, how could you abandon us?" While he was complaining about his father in the solitude of his thoughts, he heard the doorknob open. "He's busy, we already know," he said in a mischievous tone. The door opened, and both beautiful women entered the bathroom, covered only by towels. Maria looked cheerful, with a mischievous smile that promised trouble, while Mio was more timid, drowning in embarrassment. Basara's reaction is predictable. He quickly turns his head and gets nervous. "What are you doing here? What else could we do?" We've come to reinforce the master-servant pact. It's the most basic ethic that servants are responsible for maintaining their master's hygiene, and all lady demons must make sure to clean him properly. Maria. This is real life, not a naughty movie. Where do you get the idea that it's okay to do this? Where else? From anime. It's probably best if I give up on the idea of seeing them. He pretended not to hear a horrified gasp. He closed his eyes and began to meditate. He'd been through more grueling challenges. He could clearly concentrate enough to ignore the naughty atmosphere. He thought back to his days as an exorcist, practicing with his fellow students, refining his style and helping them improve their mastery of their holy swords. Boing! Basara flinches as something, two soft things, rub against his back. And Miss Mio, how daring! You've exceeded my expectations. Basara doesn't move, but he feels a pair of delicate hands hug his chest. Emil, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I'll hit Maria for forcing you to. Maria didn't force me to do anything. I wanted to thank you for everything you've done for me. For saving me, I just asked for some advice. I swallowed. Even without seeing her face, I knew Mio was embarrassed, her eyes watering as she slowly took warm breaths. Mio, you know you don't need to do this. So you didn't like it enough to want me to lick you? She sounded angry now, but he couldn't tell if she was really angry. It's not that. I don't want you to do this because you feel indebted or to improve the master-servant bond. What if I really want this? Basara gulped. What could one say in cases like these? They're cousins, for the love of the creator gods. He tried to think of a response, but the answer came by itself, almost like a sweet, feminine whisper in his spirit. Don't make a lady ask twice. He didn't know where those words came from, but they felt like advice. Basara inhaled and took a deep breath. He took Mio's soft, delicate hands in his own. They were both trembling, their bodies warm. You're making it really hard for me to contain myself. What if I want you to stop holding back? She didn't need to listen anymore. Basara isn't one to take a hint. He turned around and found Mio's beautiful face, her long, red hair, her warm breath, her lips. He took her by the waist and pulled her close to taste those lips. Maria squealed with excitement, but also with ecstasy. He approached with a provocative laugh as he stood beside a trembling Mio. Very good, very good. The first step toward improving their pact has been more than accomplished, but it's not enough. They need to delve deeper into the other. Neither of them missed the double meaning in her words, or how Maria's perverted smile kept growing. To both of them, she was nothing more than an embarrassing stumbling block. How wrong they were! That little demon is a succubus to the core, and far from hindering their progress, she licked her lips at the possibilities. Don't worry, I'll help you. Both girls got into the tub, a rather large tub, just enough for the three of them to fit in, but at the cost of being cramped. To be honest, Basara enjoyed it. He could see Mio squirming almost uncomfortably. Her body was covered by a towel, but her wrapped boba floated in the water spectacularly, almost without noticing how the knot of the towel was about to come loose. Basara's eyes burned every moment into his retinas, and when Mio noticed, she sighed in resignation. She rested her large bust on the edge of the tub, which made them stand out even more. Is he teasing me or is he doing it naturally? Basara wondered. Honestly, he was seriously Ed, and thankful that since he was submerged, they couldn't see his raging standing ion. But she said not to hold back. He felt in a serious bind, especially when Mio just stared at him with that cute, embarrassed expression. He took a deep breath. It wasn't the first time he'd been in a similar situation, naked in front of a girl while the water enveloped them, but the context was much more lascivious than with Silas. He suddenly gasped as he felt something wrap around his member. He opened his eyes and shuddered to see Maria standing beside him, smiling, her hand extended toward his manhood. Maria? Both he and Mio rebuked her, but the succubus responded with that irritating, shameless, and lascivious smile. Oh, don't worry, I'm just doing my servant's duty, making sure the master is clean everywhere. Maria let go haa. She didn't let go, tightening her grip on his shaft and starting to pump him. Her gasp only made the smile on his face grow. Maria, Mio sounded very angry. Oh, sorry, I forgot about our agreement. You should wash it, you silly me. Mio started to stutter, and Basara didn't know what to think. His head was spinning right now, and all he could think about was how good Maria's hand felt, how juicy Mio's boba looked, and how much he hated himself for wanting her to continue. Maria! Leave Basara alone, you alone. She couldn't finish speaking. The packed mark lit up on Mio's neck as she let out a sob. Basara shuddered. Just now? Fortunately, Maria let go of his manhood in surprise. Well, it seems the young lady got a little jealous. There's no other way, you'll have to subdue her again. There wasn't a hint of guilt in her tight words. Basara tried to hit her on the head, but Mio clung to him in a hug. She panted hotly into his neck, letting out muffled sobs as she pressed her large boba against his. Basara, help me. An hour later, Basara emerged from the bathroom more sweaty than when he entered. He couldn't take a shower in peace, not with the sensual girl panting on the floor, her boba and lips stained with his white manhood liquid. He leaned his back against the wall and let out a deep sigh. He looks like the young lady will need a little rest. He didn't need to turn around to recognize her. He just snorted and shook his head. You're a pain in the bum, you really love bothering us with your nonsense. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just doing my job as a servant, helping you deepen your pact. Besides, you didn't seem to dislike it before. Master, Basara didn't deny it. He enjoyed every part of the grueling process, and of course he would do it again. Not only for the mating pleasure, which was already a powerful enough reason, but also for the increase in power he gained by deepening his relationship with Mio. This increase was demonstrated by Mio's necklace changing from blue to purple. But that was only the superficial change. The true change came in her strength and magical powers. It wasn't a small increase, no, it was a huge one, enough for Basara to feel like he's now approaching the threshold of a supreme class. He's definitely back to his prime now, and at the rate he's going, his strength will only grow and grow. You need a punishment. Huh! But I didn't force the lady into anything. I gave her the advice, but she was the one who decided to take it and go further. I'm not talking about Mio, I'm talking about issei and Asia. Even though I explicitly ordered you not to talk about reincarnation, you still told issei knowing he would beg to save her. Maria grimaced. She tried to defend herself, but Basara continued. You also hypnotized issei and a normal human just for your amusement. I don't want any excuses. You will be punished. Now, she closed her eyes. She expected him to summon his gauntlet and strike her on the head, or even start whipping her, perhaps a human punishment like taking away her TV and internet for a few months. She never expected him to take her hand and deposit something in it. She opened her eyes and was surprised to see a rook piece. She looked at Basara doubtfully. An evil piece? I know that no matter your punishment, you will continue to disobey me, so this will be your punishment. You will become my rook while we form the master-servant pact. I will not suspend your video games in return. Madness. Something like this was a completely different level of punishment. Being bound by the evil pieces already bound her to her master's will was serious, but making the pact meant condemning herself to absolute submission. Her life would be his, and she couldn't oppose him in any way. It meant giving up her freedom and individuality, all her own thoughts. Maria knew it, and she longed for it. She could escape punishment in several ways: by running away, lying about not being able to perform the ritual on herself, or simply refusing. Basara would give in to her insistence on preserving her freedom. Maria, on the other hand, smiled, bowed to him in reverence, and exclaimed a few words. Abad and fills. Maria's vassalage ritual was not too shocking, as it was performed identically to Mio's. Maria considered refusing to kiss Basara's hand to activate the curse and force him to submit to her, but ultimately rejected the idea. This was a sacred ritual for the Abadan clan, and it would be blasphemous to intentionally misuse the rites. After much consideration, they decided that Maria should receive a rook piece. Her fighting style was perfectly suited to this piece, although due to her equally outstanding magical abilities, Basara considered using pawn pieces, but Maria convinced him to save them for a more important acquisition. Issei didn't say anything, but it was implied. The next day, Basara and Issei's peerage arrived at the occult club room. They greeted the devils, and everyone responded cordially, all except Kiba. The blonde looked at them reluctantly, got up from his seat, and left the building without a word. Rias sighed and looked at them with an embarrassed expression. I'm sorry about that. It's not usually like this. He's still mad about yesterday's duel. No need to apologize, Grandmorrison. We boys just don't like losing, Rias nodded. Her expression changed to a cheerful one. Are you ready for the trip? Of course, Maria affirmed. Our backpacks are full of candles, incense, minerals, and much more. Wow, isn't all that unnecessary to just capture a familiar? Aquino asked as she poured herself a cup of tea. Basara shook his head. It's part of the IU traditions. Don't make a big deal out of it, all right? If you have nothing else to do, come forward and stand under this circle. He pointed at the red emblem with multiple symbols and runes drawn on it. Rias handed Basara a pamphlet with a golden symbol on it. You can't stay there for more than a day. When your time is up or you decide to return early, tear up this pamphlet. The magic circle glowed a deep red, and before they knew it, they were in the familiar forest. A man who introduced himself as the guardian of the forest offered them guidance, but Basara politely declined. They could get a familiar later. Their real reason for coming here was something more important, making pacts with spirits. The IU's trump card has always been their pacts with spirits and ethereal entities. These pacts help them strengthen their bodies or enhance their magical abilities. There are many types of pacts, whether with nature spirits or with entities sealed in magical artifacts like Brynhilde. Basara had brought them for the former. The power they would receive depended on the depth of the pact and the entity they made it with. Though abundant, the spirits of the human world are not as powerful as those of worlds brimming with magic, and few places house spirits as powerful as the forest of familiars. The number of spirits that responded to their ritual was incredible, manifesting as hundreds of brilliant lights of all colors flitting around the group. So, what do I have to do to sign pacts with spirits? Mio asked, and Basara was quick to dismiss it. Nothing, you just can't. What, why not? Because you're repulsive, ouch. You shouldn't say something like that to a girl, you idiot. That's not what I mean. Pure-blooded demons tend to repel spirits because of their evil aura, even more so demons with noble blood. The only reason I can make pacts with them is because my blood is too diluted between my human and dragon sides. Mio pouted, but didn't say anything else. Basara let out a heavy sigh and looked at Maria, Asia, and issei. This also applies to Maria, so only issei and Asia will be able to make their pacts. We'll use the remaining time to find them a familiar. Yes, sensei. Basara stopped. He looked at issei with a puzzled expression. You called me sensei? Yes. You are my master of the supernatural, Basara sensei. I'll ignore that for now. Let's see. Let's go over everything again. He pulled an old, worn book from his backpack. It was an ancient tome filled with valuable information that his father had borrowed indefinitely from the IU village. It was a book that chronicled previous boosted gear wielders, with detailed information about their interactions and quirks. He looked for one in particular. It says here that the soul of the red celestial dragon, Dragach, resides within the boosted gear. Try to focus on your gear, remember what you learned, and try to search for an unknown presence within your body. Issei nodded and closed his eyes as he concentrated. He didn't have much experience with it, but he could at least feel the energies in his body. He searched for a few minutes until he found something immensely compressed. Metaphorically speaking, he reached out to touch it, and was then pulled away by a grunt. Huh! Ah, you finally managed to wake me up completely. Good for you, partner. The gem on the gauntlet flashed and a deep, sleepy voice bellowed, as if it had just woken from a deep sleep. Huh! Sensei, my glove just talked. Stop being so dramatic, mate. You look like a newborn wyvern. Show some guts and don't sully our title. Incredible, he really is the Red Dragon Emperor, he said impressed. And it seems you have company, Who, or rather, what are you? I feel the three opposing powers bubbling uncontrollably from within you. Dragach, my name is Basara Tuju, and I am the master of your current wielder. What you feel is the result of my parents' blood. He introduced himself respectfully. It wasn't as if the sealed dragon could do anything to him, but a being of his stature deserved a modi of respect. Tuju curious. I remember one of my last wielders was killed by a human named Tuju. Those present looked at each other in silence, and Basara decided to speak. Was that man named Jean Tuju by any chance? Yes. Do you know him? He's my father. As a child, he told me how he confronted the then Red Dragon Emperor and killed him. It was over 200 years ago. while the world is really small. Cheer up, basara toujours. You have golden blood in your veins. Drake genuinely praised him. Few beings can challenge a Longinus user and balance breaker, much less slay him like Jean Toujours did. Although he wielded a dragon slayer sword at the time, a weapon alone is nothing without someone exerting power. There was no question about time inconsistencies. A human of Jean Toujour's caliber would likely have access to methods to extend his life. So you're some kind of ghost trapped in my sacred gear? Issei asked curiously. Technically. My soul is sealed in the sacred gear, and due to the enormous power of my spirit, I can communicate through the Elohim trinket. Hello, that sounds claustrophobic. Don't remind me. It's not especially pleasant to be a spectator of all the humans he ended up with. Okay, this is all very interesting, and I hope I'm not being disrespectful, but we didn't wake you up from your slumber to just chat. Basara returned the conversation to its original purpose. Drake Gotch, a being as ancient as you must have centuries of knowledge to train and enhance the strength of your wielder. Or am I wrong? You don't, but most of those methods require relics or rituals that are no longer at my disposal. And methods like drinking the sap of Yggdrasil, or eating the peaches of immortality are guarded by factions. Hearing that was disappointing. Realistically, the only thing Drake could offer Issei was knowledge, experience, guidance on the workings of the boosted gear, and his sage advice, which were all valuable, but Basara was looking for more immediate results. I understand that, but there is still a way for you to help your wearer become a powerful warrior and grant him the strength he needs. Big words, son of Toujours. What are you talking about? What I'm saying is that I want to try to get you and Issei to make a pact. Kid, we already have a pact. The boosted gear is linked to your soul and allows you to use boost. No, I mean something deeper. A spiritual connection. Drake was silent for a few seconds. You're asking me to link our souls and share my power. That sounds great. For you perhaps, partner. Making a bond beyond boosted gear requires linking our souls. I'll strengthen your body, and it would be easier to use my powers, but because I'm sealed, not only will I gain nothing, but if you die, I'd be risking damaging my spirit body and dying for good. No afterlife to rest in, no dreams, just the utter emptiness of nothingness. Drake spoke in a grim tone. The trio of women grimaced, though Asia looked at the gauntlet with pity. Issei laughed nervously and looked at Basara for answers. He didn't have any. He hadn't thought through how catastrophic it would be for a sealed being. He tried to apologize, but the ancient dragon interrupted him. Okay, let's do it. Wait. Didn't you just say you could die if something touches me? I know what I said, mate, and I'll take that chance. With any luck, you'll live your life and die in battle, and I won't have to suffer eternally trapped in this glorified cage anymore. That doesn't sound nice. I never said I was. He felt quite uncomfortable with Issei's interaction with Drake, as it reminded him of himself and his sword Brynhilde. Always silent, with no indication that she was actually conscious. Whether it was because she was of a different nature than the boosted gear or something else, he didn't know. Brynhilde was the champion of the god Odin and marshal of all the Valkyries. She faced a powerful demon that she could not defeat, and sealed herself and the demon into the form of a sword. He did not fear the demon, for it was erased the day Brynhilde clung to it, the day it killed so many of his friends that terrible day. Basara, react! He was brought out of his treacherous thoughts when Mio's voice called out to him. They were looking at him with a certain degree of concern, and Mio was holding his hand tightly. He realized too late that she was sweating and trembling. Her heart wasn't stopping. What happened to you? Nothing. Just a bad memory. A bad memory that leaves you paralyzed? That's why I call it a bad memory instead of a good one, he joked, trying to lighten the mood, but received a blow to the shoulder. It wasn't hard or painful, but it fully conveyed Mio's dissatisfaction and concern. Idiot. After this we'll go home so you can rest. No need. I'm not asking you to. You'll get a break, whether you want it or not, Mio declared in a firm voice, as if her words were law. How come the curse of the pack didn't activate because of her arrogance? He wondered, and he only needed to look into her eyes to understand. Behind that firm, serious gaze lay concern and warm affection. How could a curse punishing disloyalty be activated when the servant acted out of love and genuinely appreciated his master? Okay, let's get this over with then. Mio's expression turned cheerful, and she let him continue overseeing the pact. It wasn't anything fancy, since the boosted gear was linked to Issei's soul. It was just a matter of the two synchronizing their spirits, and Drake did the rest. How do you feel? I don't feel much different, but I do feel some heat in my stomach. It's getting really hot and it hurts. Ouch. It hurts a lot now. Issei fell to the ground, writhing in pain, screaming loudly. Asia approached and applied healing with her sacred gear, but it didn't stop the pain at all. Ugh, I found the problem. My partner replaced part of his body with dragon flesh and blood, and when we bonded, the draconic energy overflowed into him. The replaced parts are undergoing a forced metamorphosis. A human body can't withstand raw magical beast parts. How do we stop it? Maria asked, alarmed. You just need to get rid of the excess energy. Your body should return to normal. Understood. Everyone back up. Basara stood up as he summoned Brynhilde. Everyone moved aside, and he closed his eyes to concentrate. He had been practicing using his banishing shift, but he was still somewhat crude at it, and this time he couldn't make any mistakes. As with Mio, a single mistake would be fatal, so he expanded his senses to the maximum, raised his aura, and bathed the blade of his sword in a thin greenish energy. He held his breath, brandished Brynhilde in the air, and a roar was heard, very unlike that of a beast. It was a roar that devoured even sound. He opened his eyes and let out a sigh. He could no longer sense any surplus energy in Issei, and from the way he was breathing, he hadn't suffered any damage. At this rate, I'll need to perfect a banishing shift variant for surgical procedures, he thought, considering maybe performing banishing shift twice in this technique to reduce the danger load instead of covering too much at once. As soon as Issei recovered, Asia ran to hug him between weak sobs. Okay, Asia, I'm fine. I'm not easy to kill, huh? Please don't joke about that. It was a pretty touching scene, but it was interrupted by Drake. Impressive. You managed to erase all traces of excess magical energy in one fell swoop. I don't even feel any trace of it or your spell. It's like it never existed in the first place. Drake remained silent, and felt somewhat uncomfortable by the way the celestial dragon was analyzing him, so he changed the subject. It runs in the family. Is there any other change we should know about? Our bond took effect immediately. My life-mate's body is stronger, and his magical reserves are greater. While he's spared the problem of draconification, the solution is temporary. Eventually, he'll once again have more energy than his human body can handle, and his metamorphosis will begin. You can work around this problem by draining his energy for a couple of decades, but eventually every cell in his body will acquire dragon DNA. What? So I'm forced to become a giant fire-breathing reptile? I'm forced to find a castle to hide treasure in and kidnap princesses? What about mating? I don't want to F giant reptiles, Issei shouted frantically at his gauntlet. He was not pale, because his body was now too hot for his skin to turn too white, but terrified at the thought of living as a dragon. Issei, you can't kidnap other girls, that's wrong. To him, not a princess, but if you want, Asia whispered with a noticeable blush on her cheeks, but they were interrupted before continuing their circus. Stop shaking like a baby and let me finish. You won't turn into a dragon, you need to be able to shape-shift for that. What I mean is, you'll become a subspecies of humanity. Also, I'm deeply offended by your views on dragons. Those are very racist stereotypes. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. So you don't do any of that? Well yes, but that's not the point. Alright. With that settled, let's move on to Asia, Basara exclaimed, trying to get back to the main thread. Everyone nodded and focused on Asia's ritual, which was simpler than they'd imagined. Asia attracted a huge number of spirits seeking to make pacts with her. Basara pulled out a metal suit of armor with a blue skirt and shirt from the dimensional space of his necklace. It was a standard Ayu female suit of armor, once again, a gift from his father. He planned to use a simpler object to establish the Asia Pact, but when he told Jean about his plans over the phone, the armor arrived by courier the next day. Honestly, he felt both grateful and annoyed with his father. An Ayu armor is a relic that allows multiple pacts to be made simultaneously, regardless of the spirit's element. Eventually, the Ayu will realize they're missing an armor, and if they discover it in their possession, things would get very violent. On the other hand, she couldn't have asked for a better bonding tool. Asia followed her instructions and made a pact with many elemental spirits, but the most significant were the fairy spirits. To be able to attract the attention of the highest spirits of nature means that Asia's magical potential is immense, and her soul is as pure as the crystal waters of Avalon. The spirits merged into the armor, disintegrating it into particles of multicolored glitter that entered Asia's chest, shining even brighter and revealing her figure. Asia now wore the silver armor, and it wasn't difficult for her to conceal and summon it, as it was as easy as summoning her twilight healing. After this productive ritual, they went to the ranger to ask for his help in capturing a relative. They were there all day, but it was worth it. Mio got a golden baby hydra that shoots fire and lightning, and also has slight control over gravity. Maria obtained a genbu, a snake-like turtle with a small tree growing out of its shell. According to the ranger, these turtles can grow enormous, and their fruits have medicinal and aphrodisiac effects. Asia found a lightning-breathing baby dragon that nuzzled up against her like a mother. She's extremely territorial toward Issei and Basara, likely due to their dragon essences. Issei nearly got a slime that devours exclusively women's clothing, but Mio incinerated him as soon as the green slime began to devour one of his shirt sleeves. A tragedy mourned by Issei and Maria. As for him, he didn't accomplish anything. He had too many things to work on to focus on a familiar. He preferred to perfect his banishing shift and expand his skills with gravity magic. The girls made their pacts with their families and returned home. As soon as they entered the house, they ordered takeout and spent a joyful night watching movies. Mio and Basara were the first to sleep. The redhead rested her head on Basara's chest, her arms wrapped around his waist. Maria fetched a sheet and covered both of their bodies with it. Lovebirds. I wonder what expression they'll have when they wake up. He laughed as he imagined their flushed faces, their stuttering speech, and their final acceptance with warm smiles. He wondered what kind of dreams they had, and decided to clear his doubts by seeking out a special camera that, when infused with his succubus magic, allows him to glimpse into the dreams of others. The results didn't disappoint, and he laughed like a dirty old man the entire time he recorded their fantasies before retiring to his room. The following week was fairly simple, but entertaining. Study in the morning, train in the afternoon, hunt rogue demons and invaders at night, and return to sleep. With Rias Gremery's recent alert, her nighttime hunts had decreased, but she had managed to take Issei and his entire peerage on a rogue demon hunt so they could learn a bit of actual combat. Issei was becoming more adept at combat. He's still a novice, but he already knows how to land and dodge a few blows. Asia was having some trouble casting offensive magic, but time would fix that. Maria was still a devastating force, and Mio kept improving in the use of her bloodline. And Basara? Basara was feeling exhausted. Nothing too serious, but he did feel like he needed a break, one where it wouldn't affect the progress of his companions. Knock knock, Hasegawa-sensei, may I come in? Basara politely knocked and waited at the infirmary door to be allowed inside. Technically, he could enter immediately, since it was the infirmary and all students had access. However, he decided to wait after all. There might be someone else there, receiving care from the beautiful nurse. That voice, is it your Tujakun? Yes. Can you tell? I spoke to you recently, and you're one of the few male students at this academy. Is it weird that I single you out? No, I guess. It made sense, but there was something that didn't quite sit right with him, a feeling like an itch. Am I interrupting something? Actually, you came at the right time. I have a problem with something. Could you give me a hand? Clear. He had come with the excuse of being injured and relaxing a bit, but he wasn't opposed to helping out. He entered the infirmary and noticed that the room attendant wasn't sitting at the desk by the window, but was positioned next to the sickbed by the door, and had drawn the white curtain a little. Once the curtain was drawn aside, he froze with an absolutely bewildered look plastered on his face the moment he saw Hasegawa. Ah, what's up, Tujakun? Hasegawa had a stunned expression on her face after seeing Basara's reaction. She was wearing a one-piece school swimsuit, black with green lines. Although these swimsuits were designed to cover most of the skin and give a sense of modesty and decorum, when worn by someone like the beautiful school nurse, Hasegawa, with an excessively voluptuous body that highlighted every detail of her figure with splendor, The result was a strange display of indecency. "Say sensei. What are you doing?" Excitement and confusion made Basara's voice rise several octaves. To be honest, it was quite shocking to see her like this. "Well, there's a swimming class in a few days, and apparently, there's a student who can't swim. She asked me to help her teach her. Just don't tell anyone." Poor Kaneko Tajuchin is embarrassed to admit it. Hasegawa responded sincerely with a knowing wink, unaware of her sensual figure that disconcerted Basara. "It seems there are currently no school swimsuits in my size, although I could have worn a two-piece swimsuit. The dean forbade me from wearing one since there are now boys in the school." For some reason, Basara didn't know whether to thank or curse the dean. "I ordered a custom-made one, but..." Hasegawa moved his hand to point towards the zipper that was only halfway down, seemingly caught between her cleavage, showing the tops of her ample boba s. "Unfortunately, the zipper seems to be stuck and won't budge even after pulling it. Sorry, Tajukan, can you help me open it? That's probably not good. Regardless of whether you're a teacher or a student, it would be better if this task was done by a woman. Only in those sordid and unrealistic hentai would a teacher ask a student to take off their swimsuit, right?" At this moment, Basara could only tentatively avert his gaze to the side, trying to avoid looking at Hasegawa's revealing figure. "Just to see something else I shouldn't be seeing." The clothes she had removed to put on her swimsuit were folded neatly on the sickbed to one side, while that would have been fine on its own. What was troubling was the small pile beside it that turned out to be a set of black lace lingerie that instigated indecent, amorous thoughts in her mind. "I understand. Just like you said, I should ask another woman for help, but I'm already strong enough, you see? I doubt any girl could open it if I couldn't. Therefore, I can only ask a man for help." But, ignoring their pitiful protests, Hasegawa continued, "Come on, Tajukan? I beg you." Her words and expression seemed to crave something, but those eyes weren't exactly asking for help with the swimsuit. She tried to calm down, take a deep breath, and think. It was rare for Chisato to gain enough confidence so quickly to ask her for something like this, but she dismissed it as a one-time occurrence, a result of chance and fortune. "It's okay if you really don't want to." Hiding her disappointment, Hasegawa said as she pressed her hand against her boba s. "So, can you help me find another man to help me? I really don't want to use scissors since I've only worn this swimsuit once." Hearing these words, Basara finally felt a pang of jealousy. Although he had no right to feel that way, he didn't want any man to look at the mating-wise sick woman like that. "Okay. I'll help you." Hearing his answer, Hasegawa immediately smiled. "Thank you, Tuja. I'll be sure to pay you properly," she said as she leaned down and made her boba s stand out even more. "It's no big deal." I swallow. "It was dangerous, but I wanted to know what kind of thank you this woman could give me." He tried to unzip the zipper, but it was stuck, and he could definitely break it if he applied more force. The only good thing about it was that he could lightly press his hands against Hasegawa's soft mountains. The whole time, he kept giving her that sly smile, as if she were an accomplice to a crime. That smile made her hair stand on end. "I'm sorry, but could you let go of your arms? I'd like to see how the zipper is." "Like this?" Hasegawa slowly released the arms that held her boba s. Seeing their overwhelming volume and softness, his heart raced, but he immediately did his best to calm it, taking deep, discreet breaths. The zipper was stuck, immobile no matter how hard he tried to push it. To try and resolve this situation, "Please wait a moment." Basara got up from the side of the bed and brought the bottle of milk soap to the sink. "Can I use this? It'll help lubricate the zipper." "Of course you can. You can do whatever you want with me." Ignoring the incredibly deceptive and tempting words she said, he pressed the pump, squeezing the soap around the zipper head. The whitish, viscous liquid gradually stained Hasegawa's boba s. Not only the visible surface, but Basara also inserted the pump head into her swimsuit and carefully squeezed it. And as if feeling an itch deep inside, Hasegawa's body shuddered slightly as his breathing became labored. "Sensei? Oh, don't worry, I was just a little surprised. It's been a while since I've done this with someone else. It's been a while since I've seen that girl." For some reason, the thought of Chisato naked, in the middle of a tub with a woman rubbing soap on her made his ears red. "Okay, here we go." Without waiting for a reply, Basara unzipped the zipper. Hasegawa's torso was revealed before his eyes. Her voluminous boba s stood out boldly, celebrating their freedom. A pair of boba points bobbed playfully between those enormous boba s. This was all he could think about as his brain froze from what he was seeing. Sorry, he looked away almost instantly, and Hasegawa stared at his bare chest without shame or astonishment. To think you'd be so rough when undressing a girl. How often do you rip Naru's clothes when you help her? Tuve never ripped any of your. She bit her tongue, realizing she'd said too much. Instead of looking at him with disapproval or surprise, Hasegawa looked at him with a mischievous smile. Naughty boy, but I guess I understand. They're that age, and they live together. It would be weird if a pair of healthy teenagers didn't do that kind of thing. We don't. Hasegawa silenced him by placing a finger to his lips. Shhhh, you don't have to explain it to me. I understand. You're young, your hormones are raging, and you have a beautiful woman around you. It's totally normal that you can't control yourself and act on your instincts. Why did he feel like he wasn't talking about Mio? His eyes flickered and moved from the woman's jade green dress to her bare boba s. She didn't seem upset, she just gave him a laugh and retreated behind the curtain to change. You know, I think I know how to repay you for your help. Really? Yes. I'm going to invite you to dinner. Ah, sure. I sound a little disappointed. I was expecting more. But a beggar can't be picky. What do you think about this weekend? I'll pick you up at the park at 4. I'll make you something, so you just have to get dressed. Get ready? Sensei, will you take me to your apartment? Of course, where else would we go? He admitted without any shame. Isn't it wrong for a teacher to invite a student to her home? Don't worry, I'm a nurse, so there shouldn't be too many problems. I didn't mean that. He thought tensely, but only a little happy with her answer. Suddenly, Hasegawa asked for his phone number, and although hesitant, he gave it to her. Upon returning it, he looked surprised at a new contact, Hasegawa's number. Click! A sound was heard on the other side of the curtain, and almost immediately he received a message. He almost choked at the sight. You're running late, Basara. See you on Saturday. Basara nodded, put his phone away, and hurried out of the infirmary. He never questioned how she knew Mio lived with him, or the sweet way she said his name. All he could think about was the picture of Chisato Hasegawa naked, her hands wrapped around her sensual body, wearing only a white robe hanging from her wrists. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.